Lu Zei's seductive voice echoed in the black slave's mind, constantly assaulting his spirit. The lure of survival was immensely powerful for any martial artist. Did you hear that, friend? Guild leader Lu Zei has agreed to let you go. What are you still hesitating for? To be honest, you are quite the hero. With your strength, you're no nobody in this Black Death Marsh. I admire you quite a bit. Why not hand over the boy's location and leave this Black Death Marsh? Bloodthirsty demon, Zhu Moxen, also attacked while sneering. With your cultivation, the world is your oyster once you leave this Black Death Marsh. Why tie yourself to that boy and act the loyal hero? What Demon Heart says is exactly what I think. To be honest, I can't bear to see a strong man like you die here in vain. Why not surrender? Lead us to that kid, and once he's dead, I will definitely let you go, I swear. The two took turns attacking, suppressing the black slave. The sky was filled with white light, frantically crashing down, pinning the black slave's demon banner into an extremely narrow corner. At the same time, Zhu Moxen's battle blade transformed into a myriad of blade shadows, slashing down beside the black slave. Puff, puff, puff. The black slave spurted blood, staggering. How about it? Think it over carefully. If you don't surrender, your death is imminent. Why be so foolishly loyal? The terrifying attacks, like a vast ocean, relentlessly suppressed the black slave, making even breathing difficult. The intense pain was like a sharp blade, constantly cutting into his body. Surrender. The black slave smiled bitterly, his heart trembling. Indeed, surrender was such a simple thing. With just a simple word, all the pain, all the entanglement, would vanish like smoke. Moreover, to survive in this dog-eat-dog world, what did one act of betrayal matter? But for some reason, when he thought of Qin Chen, a strange sense of resistance welled up in the black slave's heart. Ha ha, ha ha ha. The black slave couldn't help but laugh loudly, sneering, "Betray young Master Chen. I spit on that." He spat out a mouthful of saliva, his eyes revealing contempt and disdain. Lu Zei's face darkened, and he said in a cold voice, "Are you really going to be so stubborn?" Stubborn. The black slave sneered, "Lu Zei, what are you? Do you even deserve my surrender? I advise you to stop dreaming. Although I, the black slave, am not some world-shaking figure, I can't betray young Master Chen. Sorry, I can't do it. I, the black slave, am not a lackey like you." Speaking these words freely, the black slave's heart suddenly felt unprecedentedly clear, as if he had been reborn. "You're courting death." Hearing this, bloodthirsty demon Zhu Moxen was immediately enraged, and his attacks became even more frenzied, leaving streaks of blood on the black slave's body. "You dead thing, since you want to die, I, the bloodthirsty demon, will grant your wish." Zhu Moxen roared ferociously, his posture clearly indicating that he would not rest until he killed the black slave. "Come on." The black slave shouted coldly, his face also becoming more ferocious. Boom. In the midst of the frenzied attacks, he seized an opportunity, enduring serious injuries, and swung the demon banner fiercely, sweeping it across Zhu Moxen's body. Puff. Zhu Moxen directly spat out a mouthful of blood, but this action only further enraged Lu Zei and Zhu Moxen. Knowing that the black slave would not surrender and reveal Qin Chen's location, they gave him no chance to retaliate, unleashing all their battle power. "Kill him." The two shouted coldly, attacking with all their might. "Ah!" The black slave screamed, suffering several more wounds, spitting out blood, but his eyes were more determined than ever before. "Hey hey, who would have thought that I, the bloodworm demonic human, would have such a loyal day?" He murmured, his vision gradually blurring, even able to feel the true essence within his body slowly dissipating, the passing of life. "Die!" The bloodthirsty demon roared wildly, his face filled with ferocity and arrogance. He raised his battle blade high, grinning, and slashed down madly at the black slave. "Am I going to die?" The black slave's heart was bitter, his eyes filled with a trace of despair. At this moment, he thought of his past. In his youth, he was born into a large family in the dynasty, considered a famous genius disciple, living a life that countless people envied. But that night, a nightmare descended, his family suffered a catastrophic disaster, and only he escaped. Bearing the deep hatred of his entire family, he entered a desperate situation while constantly being chased. He walked alone in the dangerous mountains for a full year before shaking off the enemies chasing him, finally crossing the entire mountain range and arriving at a new place, hiding his name. He was only 13 years old that year. The black slave, who had escaped death, buried the deep-seated hatred in his heart and never told anyone. He wanted revenge, but the strength of the enemy made him unable to imagine it. He forgot his name and became a wanderer. He worked hard, traveling in the dynasty. Only when the night was deep and quiet would he recall the bloody killings and cry silently. In order to take revenge, he forgot what morality was, forgot what dignity was. He tried every means to make himself stronger, to constantly walk on the path of the strong. However, the terrible status and powerful strength of the enemy once made him despair. It was not until he obtained the Azure Lotus demonic fire and the Black Gourd in the Black Death Marsh several years ago that he finally saw a glimmer of hope for revenge. In order to make himself stronger, he constantly raised spirit worms, and in order to improve the strength of the Azure Lotus demonic fire, he killed countless people. In the Great Wei dynasty, he gained the terrible name of Bloodworm Demonic Human, becoming the public enemy of many forces, who wanted to get rid of him quickly. And whenever night fell, he looked at his disfigured face, which could only be hidden under a cloak, and his heart seemed to bleed. He laughed madly, he fell, and for revenge, he was willing to become a demon, his hands stained with blood. But when he discovered that his cultivation was stuck at the late peak of the 5th level, unable to advance an inch, he despaired. Because he knew deeply that without stepping into the martial venerable realm, he would not be able to compete with his family's enemies at all. That was a behemoth, and his strength was far from enough. Even a 6th level martial venerable would only barely have a glimmer of hope for confrontation. That day, he cried. He cried heart-wrenchingly, his heart ashen. Over the years, he himself did not know what kind of life he was living. He only knew to keep practicing, to keep killing, to improve his strength, like a mad demon. But in the end, he was facing such an ending. He was unwilling. He became even more insane, even more unscrupulous. It was when he was most desperate that he met Qin Chen. This youth had taken everything from him, snatching away his Azure Lotus demonic fire. Therefore, he tracked Qin Chen like a madman. In his mind, the Azure Lotus demonic fire was indispensable, it was his only hope for revenge. But in the end, not only did he fail to retrieve the Azure Lotus demonic fire, but he also became Qin Chen's prisoner. Just when he was once again in despair, Qin Chen gave him a choice, to become his servant. He was forced to accept, but he never expected that Qin Chen's strength would allow him to see the hope of revenge again. So he changed his mindset and willingly followed Qin Chen, not only because Qin Chen could help him break through, but also because Qin Chen allowed him to see the hope of revenge. For this, he was willing to abandon everything, even if he fell into hell after death. But now, everything was about to end. Boom! Black saber energy blotted out everything, pouring down like a vast ocean. Black Slave tried his best to resist, but the heavenly demon banner was completely suppressed, and the true essence within his body was almost exhausted. Tears quietly streamed from the corners of his eyes. Since the night of his clan's extermination, the night he saw no hope, after he had cried in grief, he had never shed tears again in these decades, but now, he was crying. I'm sorry, father, I'm sorry, mother, I'm sorry, sister, I'm sorry, everyone. Black Slave choked with sobs, tears flowing freely. Finally, a desolate smile appeared on his lips. I never thought that I, the bloodworm human demon, who had been evil all my life, who had done so many bad things, who had used any means to survive, would end up becoming a loyal and righteous man. He smiled bitterly, closing his eyes in the face of the terrifying saber light. Ha ha ha, you also know that there is no hope of survival, and you are willing to die. Don't worry, although you are unwilling to reveal the whereabouts of that little brat, we will find him sooner or later, and then, we will send him to accompany you to hell. Seeing Black Slave's desperate expression, the bloodthirsty demon man felt an unprecedented sense of satisfaction, and the battle blade in his hand slashed down without regard for anything. Just as the black saber light was about to strike Black Slave. Suddenly, who dares to kill my servant? A thunderous roar suddenly echoed in the bloodthirsty demon man's ears, followed by a sharp sword light. like a celestial being descending from the heavens, streaking from the distant horizon. This sword light was incomparably sharp, carrying the terrifying power to penetrate everything, instantly arriving in front of the bloodthirsty demon man. Who? The bloodthirsty demon man was shocked. In the midst of the crisis, he hurriedly urged the battle blade in his hand, slashing towards the sharp sword light with all his might. Boom! A deafening roar instantly resounded in this world. The terrifying sword energy, containing the power to annihilate everything, instantly rushed into the bloodthirsty demon man's body, directly blasting him backward, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Who is it? The bloodthirsty demon man was shocked, and together with Lu Zhe, who was not far away, he suddenly turned his head to look in the direction from which the sword light came. Swoosh! Under the gazes of the two men, a figure rapidly approached, as fast as lightning. At first, it was extremely small, but in the blink of an eye, it arrived on the battlefield, blocking in front of Black Slave. It was Qin Chen, who had rushed over after his breakthrough. Although Qin Chen had not arrived at the scene during the previous confrontation, his perception had already peeked over, and he naturally knew everything Black Slave had done. Chen. Young Master Chen. Black Slave had thought that he was bound to die, but in an instant, he was enveloped by a thick true essence. He raised his head and saw Qin Chen holding the mysterious rusty sword, standing proudly in front of him. He couldn't help but blurt out, his eyes moist. Black Slave, you did very well. Leave the rest to this young master. You stay to the side and rest well. Qin Chen glanced at Black Slave, and several pills appeared in his hand, quickly throwing them into Black Slave's hand. After Black Slave took the pills, he did not leave immediately, but looked nervously at Qin Chen and said, Young Master Chen, be careful. That Lu Zhe is very powerful. The Li Kan sacred mirror in his hand completely suppresses the heavenly demon banner. You quickly escape, and never be wrapped up by his Li Kan sacred mirror. It's you. After seeing Qin Chen, a look of ecstasy appeared on the faces of Lu Zhe and Chu Moxing. They did not expect that Qin Chen would actually deliver himself to their doorstep. Good kid, you really have guts. Since you're here, don't even think about leaving. Lu Zhe said with a ferocious expression, in front of me. Lu Zhe, do you think you have a chance to escape? Qin Chen ignored Lu Zhe's words, and only said to Black Slave, you quickly go to the side to heal your injuries. I'll take care of these two guys. Don't worry, they dared to touch my, Qin Chen's, servant. Don't they know that no one can touch my, Qin Chen's, servant except for this young master himself? Qin Chen held the mysterious rusty sword, his aura incomparably cold. Lu Zhe and Chu Moxing were both stunned. Ha ha ha. Chu Moxing laughed even louder, as if he had heard something funny. He cupped his fist towards Lu Zhe and said, President Lu, leave this kid to your subordinate. Your subordinate wants to see just how capable this kid is to dare say such arrogant words. As soon as he finished speaking, without waiting for Lu Zhe to answer, Chu Moxing had already raised his battle blade and charged towards Qin Chen. In his opinion, without Black Slave's protection, how strong could Qin Chen, a boy in his teens, be? It was just a matter of one strike. The only reason they had been wary of Qin Chen before was because they were afraid that Qin Chen might have some background. Boom! Amidst the ferocious laughter, Chu Moxing's black battle blade instantly arrived above Qin Chen's head. Back then, at Black Marsh Plaza, this young master already let you off once. Since you don't want your own dog life, then this young master will take it. Qin Chen snorted coldly, his gaze equally incomparably cold. The moment Chu Moxing made his move, he also unleashed a sword strike. Ha ha ha. Brat, you want to compete with this old man in swordsmanship? Chu Moxing sneered, the true essence within his body frantically circulating. In an instant, the battle blade in his hand wailed, emitting the sound of ghosts crying and gods howling. That terrifying saber intent soared into the sky, instantly forming an astonishing vortex of saber energy, devouring everything. Chu Moxing could already imagine the scene after this strike landed. Qin Chen would be torn to pieces, his death leaving no whole corpse. However, when his attack landed, his expression suddenly changed. An astonishing sword intent attacked, instantly shattering the saber intent aura he had released. That sword intent was sharp and terrifying, like an unparalleled swordsman, unleashing his world-shocking sword. Poof! The saber energy released by Chu Moxing was like a fragile bubble, instantly shattered under that indestructible sword energy. Bang! The entire vortex of saber energy exploded, and then, an extremely sharp sword light suddenly appeared in front of him. Not good. Chu Moxing's heart suddenly contracted, his expression greatly alarmed. In his haste, he hurriedly tried to retreat and resist. However, the sword light was too fast. Poochie! The shadow of the sword flashed past. Chu Moxing widened his eyes in shock and anger, his retreating figure suddenly stopped. A head soared into the sky, blood instantly spurting out several zhang away, staining the sky red. In the sky, Chu Moxing's head, soaring into the sky, still had its eyes wide open, filled with disbelief. Amidst the splashing blood, his eyes were filled with horror. Clearly, even in death, he had not anticipated that he would be killed by Qin Chen's sword. After unleashing the sword light, Qin Chen casually collected a ring. With a flash of the sword, Chu Moxing's head was instantly shattered by the sword energy, turning into a bloody mist. At this moment, the lower half of Chu Moxing's body was still standing on the ground, not falling even after Qin Chen finished these actions. What? Not far away, Lu Zai's expression, which had been filled with a smile, instantly froze, his eyes revealing shock and anger. He never expected that Chu Moxing would not be Qin Chen's opponent and would be killed in one move. How is this possible? Young Master Chen, have you broken through? Hein Yu was also completely stunned, blurting out in surprise. Only now did he realize that Qin Chen's aura was much stronger than when they had separated, clearly having stepped into the martial sect realm. In that case, young Master Chen has already obtained the bitter rime grass and consumed it. Hein Yu's heart was immediately filled with joy. He knew Qin Chen's strength too well. Back when he was at the late-stage peak of the profound level, he could use formations to trap himself, a late-stage peak 5th level expert. Now that he has broken through to the martial sect realm, his cultivation must have improved by leaps and bounds. Although he may not necessarily be Lu Zai's opponent, the two of them working together may not be able to escape from Lu Zai's hands. Good kid. So you are a mid-stage peak 5th level martial sect. You have been hiding your strength all along. What a despicable method. At this time, Lu Zai had already recovered, roaring furiously. As soon as Qin Chen made a move, the mid-stage peak 5th level aura on his body could not be hidden at all. No wonder Chu Moxing was killed by a single sword strike. With a prepared mind against an unprepared one, Chu Moxing would naturally be ambushed if he was careless. If this old man, don't kill you today, then I am not Lu Zai. Go to hell for me. In the midst of the explosive roar, a frost ice spear suddenly appeared in Lu Zai's hand. The frost ice spear turned into a milky white shadow, instantly sweeping towards Qin Chen. Qin Chen was so young, yet he was a mid-stage peak 5th level martial sect, which stimulated the killing intent in Lu Zai's heart to the extreme. This kind of genius is even more terrifying than their Valley Wind Chamber of Commerce. He must have an extremely astonishing and powerful force behind him. Now that the two sides have already formed a feud, even if it means risking his old life, he must kill these two people here. Otherwise, once they escape, the one who will die will definitely be him, Lu Zai. Boom! In an instant, the sky was filled with white spear shadows, permeating with an astonishing icy aura, turning into a sky full of flood dragons sweeping out. Amidst the hazy spear shadows, before they even hit Qin Chen's body, the surrounding temperature dropped sharply, as if even the air in this black death swamp was frozen. This is a 6th level treasure. Not good. Young Master Chen, retreat quickly. Hein Yu hurriedly exclaimed in surprise, even urging the heavenly demon banner, trying to resist this terrifying spear shadow. Hein Yu was knowledgeable and experienced, and could tell from the aura alone that the frost ice spear in Lu Zai's hand was definitely a 6th level treasure. Only a 6th level treasure could release such a terrifying icy aura. Even a late-stage peak 5th level martial sect like him felt like he was being frozen into an ice cube before being hit. Such an attack, once it hits young Master Chen, even if young Master Chen has a high talent, it would be difficult to escape serious injury, or even death. In the midst of the exclamation, the heavenly demon banner suddenly wailed, and a large amount of black demonic energy swept wildly, constantly expanding, obviously trying to break out of the white light and block the erosion of this icy aura. Just as Hainu moved, Lu Zhe sneered, as if he had anticipated that Hainu would take action. The light on the Li Kan sacred mirror in his hand instantly became even more terrifying. Boom, 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 boom. One after another, white lights poured down frantically, and Hainu immediately groaned. His injuries that had slightly recovered under the medicine spread out once again, and blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth. Only then did Hainu realize the gap between a 6th-level martial venerable and a 5th-level martial sect. Obviously, Lu Zhe had not used his full strength before, otherwise, with the Li Kan sacred mirror and this 6th-level frost ice spear, the other party would have been completely capable of killing him before. But he gritted his teeth, his figure standing still, frantically urging the heavenly demon banner, his eyes ferocious, obviously willing to die himself rather than let Qin Chen bear the terrifying attack of this icy aura. At the same time, he roared to Qin Chen in shock, "Young Master Chen, I will block him, you retreat from here first." "Want to leave?" Lu Zhe directly sneered, waving the frost ice spear in his hand into a cloud of white smoke. The astonishing cold air, like a white field, had completely sealed off the surrounding space. At this moment, the surrounding ice mist formed an icy ocean, making a creaking sound under the drive of the frost ice spear. Obviously even the air had been frozen. Countless ice slags appeared in the sky, and countless icy mists intertwined together. A stream of light with an even more bone-piercing chill had already pierced through the sky of cold air and appeared directly in front of Qin Chen. Hainu's face changed drastically. Lu Zhe's attack was too strong. He even had a feeling of being completely trapped. He could feel that if he was hit by this spear, even with the heavenly demon banner, he would definitely be seriously injured, or even fall. Not to mention young Master Chen, who had just broken through to the martial sect realm. "Young Master Chen, retreat quickly." His eyes became incomparably firm and ferocious. Hainu roared angrily, his figure suddenly pouncing towards Qin Chen, obviously wanting to block this spear for him. However, before he could reach Qin Chen, he saw Qin Chen suddenly turn his head, revealing a dissatisfied expression. In his calm eyes, there was no panic, only a strong sense of blame. "Hainu, I told you to heal your injuries on the side, just obediently heal your injuries on the side. This guy, just leave him to this young master, why are you causing trouble here?" "Causing trouble?" Hainu staggered, almost falling down, and almost cried. "Young Master Chen, I am afraid that you are in danger, and I am defending for you." "You are good, one sentence causing trouble." These words were too hurtful. Hainu was depressed and speechless. Lu Zhe smiled coldly when he heard this, while being furious. He didn't know where this kid came from, who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Since this is the case, then he would fulfill him. The true energy in his body was frantically urged. At this moment, the cold air in the sky became even more violent, and the hazy spear shadow seemed to be able to pierce through everything. Especially the power of confinement, which was becoming more and more powerful and terrifying, making it impossible for people to escape. If it was an ordinary martial sect, let alone resist, it would be impossible to even retreat. These icy auras sealed off everything around, making it impossible for people to retreat. But what kind of vision did Qin Chen have? The use of this icy artistic conception belonged to the venerable realm power that only martial venerables possessed, but in Qin Chen's eyes, who was a peak martial emperor in his previous life, it was full of flaws and full of loopholes. Boom! His figure shook, directly shaking Hainu out of the confinement of the icy aura. Qin Chen almost instantly after the icy aura enveloped him, sacrificed the azure lotus demon fire, and at the same time, the mysterious rusty sword in his hand directly slashed out. After Qinglian demon fire was nourished by Kuyu Zhizhi and broke through, its power had already increased several times. In terms of flame intensity alone, it was comparable to the 6th order peak blood spirit fire. Therefore, when Qinglian demon fire was sacrificed, the icy aura that was about to trap Qin Chen instantly melted like ice and snow thrown into a red-hot iron block, at a speed visible to the naked eye. Kingly and demon fire burned, and an astonishing heat spread out from Qin Chen as the center. In an instant, the entire icy aura shook violently. With the diffusion of kingly and demon fire's heat, there was even a hissing sound in the icy mist. The whole process seemed long, but it was actually in an instant. As soon as Qin Chen's kingly and demon fire appeared, the original ice domain instantly shattered and collapsed. However, the mysterious rusty sword in Qin Chen's hand did not stop at all, and with a brilliant sword light, it directly slashed on the ice spear in Lu Zei's hand. Ding! An astonishing sword intent soared into the sky. The sword intent was solitary and proud, like a peerless master, proudly wielding a sword in the sky, with an unmatched destructive power, suddenly pouring into the spear body and spreading wildly towards Lu Zei's right hand. Buzz buzz buzz. The ice spear in Lu Zei's hand trembled frantically. Under the erosion of Qin Chen's sword intent, his face turned pale, and he almost couldn't hold the ice spear, and it almost flew out of his hand. Stabilize it for me, Lu Zei roared, and an even more terrifying true force erupted from his body, barely resisting Qin Chen's sword intent attack, and then looked at Qin Chen in horror. He had never seen such a tricky young man, and he couldn't even be considered tricky anymore, but enough to pose a certain threat to him. What is the origin of this kid? Why does he have such a terrifying strange fire on his body? Lu Zei was shocked. He knew the power of his ice spear better than anyone else. The sixth-order treasure weapon, combined with his own martial venerable cultivation, could release ice attacks that would be difficult for even ordinary sixth-order martial venerables to resist, and they would be seriously injured. But the cyan-purple flame on Qin Chen's body was like a scorching sun, instantly dissipating his full-strength ice attack. This was simply unimaginable. This shows that the strange fire on Qin Chen's body is at least a sixth-order blood spirit fire, otherwise it would not be able to withstand his ice attack at all. Sixth-order blood spirit fire. The higher the level of the strange fire, the more difficult it is to obtain. To obtain the sixth-order blood spirit fire, one must first kill a sixth-order venerable level fire-type blood beast with blood spirit fire in its body, and after the blood beast dies, completely preserve the blood spirit fire. This is just preparation. What's even more difficult is how to safely transfer it into this young man's body after obtaining the sixth-order blood spirit fire. Qin Chen is only a fifth-order martial sect. If he is not careful, the sixth-order blood spirit fire will instantly burn him to ashes. Therefore, the materials needed to safely transfer it are definitely an heaven-defying number. To do this is even more difficult than hunting a venerable level blood beast. And those who can do this are all the most heaven-defying forces in the entire Dewei dynasty, and their strength is far above his Gufeng Chamber of Commerce. This is not what shocked Lu Zei the most. What shocked him the most was Qin Chen's sword just now. Others couldn't see it, but Lu Zei himself knew clearly that the position where Qin Chen's mysterious rusty sword slashed was exactly the weakest position of his ice spear, which could be said to be the flaw in his move. What kind of eyesight is this? With the fifth-order martial sect cultivation, he saw through the attack of his sixth-order martial venerable. Just thinking about it made Lu Zei feel chills all over his body. No. This son must die today. If he doesn't die, there will be no place for me in this world. A ferocious cold light burst out from his eyes. Lu Zei's whole body was boiling with killing intent, and the Li Can sacred mirror in his hand no longer attacked He Nu, but quickly shifted its target and enveloped Qin Chen all at once. Streams of white light swept over, carrying the aura of Supreme Yang and Supreme Yang, and immediately made Qin Chen's skin feel bursts of stinging pain. The white light carried extremely astonishing destructive power, constantly trying to rush into Qin Chen's body. That kind of destructive power made Qin Chen's face change secretly. If he hadn't cultivated the immortal holy body and his physical strength had reached a perverted level, if it were another fifth-order late-stage peak martial sect, I'm afraid that under the shroud of this white light, he would be torn apart in an instant, and then be dissolved into nothingness. Fully urging the Li Can sacred mirror, Lu Zei even released his bloodline power. With a buzzing sound, an astonishing icy aura permeated from his body. The ice bloodline, combined with the ice spear, Lu Zei shot again, and the white spear shadow instantly turned into a white ice dragon, pouncing towards Qin Chen. Boom! The terrifying attack of the Li Can's sacred mirror combined with Lu Zai's full blow, the sky trembled, like the end of the world, with endless destructive aura. Before the attack landed on Qin Chen, dense icy giant nets formed around the spear shadow. These giant nets seemed to be traction by the ice dragon, enveloping Qin Chen. Good come. Qin Chen laughed loudly, his face was as usual, without any panic. Facing the terrifying attack, he did not retreat but advanced, holding the mysterious rusty sword, and collided frantically with the white spear shadow dragon. Rumble. Qin Chen's figure was like electricity, shuttling through the sky full of spear shadows, and it was extremely smooth. Every one of his attacks landed on the weakest part of Lu Zai's attack, making Lu Zai extremely uncomfortable, and he felt like he couldn't use his whole body's strength. I don't believe it. Ice seal thousands of miles. Lu Zai roared. The spear shadow flashed, becoming even more terrifying, rumbling, the sky full of spear shadows instantly intertwined with the mysterious rust in Qin Chen's hand, erupting with unprecedented earth-shattering power. Kaka kaka kaka. The two forces strangled together frantically. This was definitely a contest of pure power. There were cracking sounds everywhere. Some were spear shadows shattering, and some were sword lights being torn apart. After hundreds of collisions, an ice spear and a grey-brown rusty sword collided firmly, making a deafening noise. The two recklessly released the true power, both wanting to use this blow to gain the upper hand. Boom! A powerful venerable level true force attacked, and Qin Chen was agitation and flew out, flying directly dozens of meters away. But Lu Zai himself was not having a good time. Under one blow, his whole body shook violently, his face turned pale, and an extremely strong sword intent attacked, and a trace of blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth. How could this be? Lu Zai's face was ashen, almost mad. He was a 6th-order early-stage martial venerable, and Qin Chen was only a 5th-order martial sect, but under the full blow of both sides, he was the one who suffered, which completely subverted Lu Zai's previous understanding. At this time, he had already understood that although Qin Chen was only a 5th-order mid-stage peak martial sect, his combat experience was not half worse than him, and even his true power was not weaker than him at all, otherwise the result would not be like this under one blow. Ha ha. Stopping, Qin Chen couldn't help but roar towards the sky, his heart filled with joy. How long had it been since he had experienced such an exhilarating battle? After breaking through to the martial ancestor realm, Qin Chen felt that the true energy in his body had reached a new level, and his strength was unprecedentedly surging. For other martial artists, the martial ancestor realm was a completely new realm. Martial ancestor represented a martial artist stepping into the grandmaster realm, and every step of comprehension required a lot of time and familiarity with one's own strength. But Qin Chen was different. In his previous life, he was a peak martial emperor, and he knew the martial ancestor realm too well. For Qin Chen, all he had to do was constantly recover his strength. With every bit of strength he recovered and improved, he could unleash those earth-shattering killing techniques he had mastered in his previous life more freely. This was also the reason why Qin Chen was able to remain unscathed after exchanging hundreds of moves with Lu Zai. Every time his cultivation improved a bit, his true strength might increase exponentially, completely different from ordinary martial artists. Hiss. At this time, He Niu, who had been blasted away by Qin Chen, also gasped, looking at Qin Chen in disbelief, his face blank. He knew Qin Chen's terror, and he also knew Qin Chen's talent, which even surpassed the many geniuses of the Dewei dynasty, but he had never imagined that Qin Chen could fight against a martial venerable like Lu Zai just after breaking through to the martial ancestor realm. The reason why geniuses were geniuses was indeed because they could challenge opponents beyond their level, but they couldn't be as perverted as Qin Chen, right? He could fight against a martial venerable like Lu Zai just after breaking through. If he was given some more time, how strong would he become? Even if He Niu had confidence in Qin Chen, he was still shocked by Qin Chen's heaven-defying actions. How can Master Chen be so terrifying? He Niu exclaimed in admiration. At this moment, he had long forgotten that he was still in danger, and what surged in his mind was endless ecstasy. To him, the stronger Qin Chen was, the more worthwhile everything he had done before was. Following such a master, why worry that his future revenge would not be achieved? Didn't you want to kill me? With this little strength, you want to kill me, Qin Chen? Dream on. At this time, after roaring, Qin Chen immediately returned to calm, and then looked coldly at Lu Zhe in front of him, sneering. At the same time, Qin Chen restrained the Azure Lotus demonic flame on his body. Releasing the Azure Lotus demonic flame consumed too much mental energy. Now that the surrounding icy aura had already been dissolved by him, he didn't need to keep releasing the Azure Lotus demonic flame. Moreover, the reason why he released the Azure Lotus demonic flame before was because Hainu was nearby, and he was afraid that Hainu would be hurt by the attack of this icy aura. Now that Hainu had been blasted out of the attack range, the Azure Lotus demonic flame was naturally no longer needed. You. Go to hell. Lu Zhe instantly felt that his identity as a martial venerable had been insulted by Qin Chen. He knew that there was no possibility of reconciliation between him and Qin Chen, so he didn't say anything at all. After roaring, the icy spear in his hand waved out again, as if he would not give up until he killed Qin Chen. Puff. While waving the icy spear, Lu Zhe directly spat out a mouthful of essence blood. Boom. In an instant, the true energy in Lu Zhe's body seemed to boil. At this time, he had completely regarded Qin Chen as his great enemy, and even at the risk of burning his essence blood, he had to kill Qin Chen here. At the same time, at the moment of waving the spear, Lu Zhe suddenly took a few pills. As soon as these pills entered his body, the true energy in his body instantly became more condensed. Exploding Yuan pill. This was a kind of pill that could increase his true energy cultivation by 1 time in a short period, but had great side effects. Originally, he would never take this kind of pill unless it was a moment of crisis, but at this time, in order to kill Qin Chen, he couldn't care about anything. Rumble. The icy spear, carrying a power several times stronger than before, surged, and the sky was covered with icy white light, which was obviously more terrifying than the icy aura just now. He was waiting for Qin Chen to release the Azure Lotus demonic flame. He could see that although Qin Chen's use of the Azure Lotus demonic flame could resist his icy attacks, it also consumed a lot of Qin Chen's own energy. As long as Qin Chen's energy was restrained, he would have a chance to kill Qin Chen. Unexpectedly, Qin Chen had no intention of releasing the Azure Lotus demonic flame at all. He didn't even resist the icy aura, but instantly rushed into the icy aura and stabbed out with a sword. In Qin Chen's view, although Lu Zhe's icy aura was terrifying, it was only a martial venerable level attack. Perhaps it could have some hindrance to him, but for Qin Chen, who had cultivated the undying holy body, it didn't have much killing effect. Instead of trying to resist it, it was better to put more energy into attacking. Therefore, Qin Chen didn't resist Lu Zhe's icy attack this time, but directly killed into the icy aura and launched an attack on Lu Zhe. Is this guy crazy? Lu Zhe didn't expect Qin Chen to be so arrogant. Under the shock, he was immediately ecstatic. Although Qin Chen's strength was amazing and his talent was extremely high, he was too arrogant and conceited. He dared to ignore his own icy attack. The icy energy formed by the combination of his bloodline power and the icy spear would only be killed even if other martial venerables came over, let alone a martial ancestor like him. Wouldn't it be courting death to break in like this? Moreover, at this time, he had taken the exploding Yuan pill and burned his essence blood, and his strength was more than doubled compared to before. Lu Zhe immediately crazily urged the Li Kan holy mirror, and countless white lights with terrifying destructive power instantly enveloped Qin Chen, while releasing the icy power in his body to the extreme. Puff 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 puff. Under the erosion of the two terrifying forces, Qin Chen immediately felt severe pain on his body. Even if his undying holy body was strong, he couldn't say that nothing happened in the face of such a terrifying attack. After all, his cultivation was too low. But Qin Chen did not retreat in the slightest. After a long roar, he rushed into the battle group even more frantically. Boom! The mysterious rusty sword and the icy spear collided again, and an earth-shattering sword intent rose into the sky, as if tearing the sky apart. Puff! The next moment, the sword light burst out, and Lu Zhe spurted out a mouthful of blood again and flew out in embarrassment. He could feel that Qin Chen was not affected at all by his icy aura, and even the power of his attack was more terrifying than him. He hurriedly looked up and saw that Qin Chen's armor on his body was broken, and the armor in his body was also shattered, but the whole person, except for a slightly weak aura, was fine at all. How is this possible? Lu Zhe was shocked. He couldn't kill Qin Chen with such an attack, so how could he kill him? Could it be that you are still a body refiner? Lu Zhe said in horror. He. Qin Chen smiled coldly, did not answer, just shook his head and said, "It's almost there. Just warming up just now. Now that the warm-up is over, the next move, I will take your life." Qin Chen had only been familiarizing himself with his combat power after fighting for so long. Now that he was familiar with it, he was ready to kill Lu Zhe with one move. Just you. Although Lu Zhe was shocked, Qin Chen's arrogant tone made him even more furious. Yes, Qin Chen was indeed strong, so strong that even he couldn't harm Qin Chen, but if he wanted to run, could that kid stop him? With his cultivation as a martial sect, could he stop a martial venerable like himself? How ignorant. With a cold snort, Lu Zhe said indifferently, "Kid, you wait, in this Black Death Swamp. If I, Lu, don't kill you, I won't hang around Black Swamp City anymore." As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Zhe's figure swayed, and he was about to leave. Qin Chen's previous strength made him feel terrified. He knew very well that it was no longer possible to kill Qin Chen. For now, he could only return to Black Swamp City and inform the president of the Valley Wind Chamber of Commerce to come and kill him personally. This child is so young, yet his cultivation is so terrifying. The cultivation techniques and secret skills he practices must be 1 in a million, definitely above my Valley Wind Chamber of Commerce. Moreover, this child also has a 6th order blood spirit fire. The president will definitely be interested. Lu Zhe felt calm. As long as the president was willing to take action, killing Qin Chen would definitely be a piece of cake. As for Qin Chen's whereabouts, Lu Zhe was not worried. There were only 4 teleportation passages in and out of the Black Death Swamp. The Valley Wind Chamber of Commerce had been operating here for many years, and its power was naturally deeply rooted. It had a good relationship with every force, and Lu Zhe was not worried that Qin Chen would try to break out of the Black Death Swamp directly. The outer perimeter of the Black Death Swamp was actually filled with traps set up by their 4 major forces. This was also the foundation for them to sit on the teleportation passages and obtain a continuous stream of benefits. In addition to these traps, there were also many spies set up by their 4 major forces. It could be said that as soon as Qin Chen appeared, he would definitely be discovered. It's a pity. Originally, the treasures on this child's body would all belong to me, but now that I've notified the president, I can only get a small portion of them. What frustrated Lu Zhe even more was that after notifying the president, he would not be able to obtain most of the benefits from Qin Chen and He Niu. Like that heavenly demon banner, he had coveted it for a long time, but if the president found out, it would definitely not fall into his hands. However, in order to kill Qin Chen and He Niu, he had no other choice. With these thoughts flashing through his mind, Lu Zhe instantly soared into the sky and fled in the opposite direction, feeling resentful in his heart. Want to leave? Qin Chen sneered. The other party wanted to kill him when they wanted to, and leave when they wanted to. There was no such thing. Illusion imprisonment cage. His eyes narrowed, and a sharp mental power shock rushed towards Lu Zhe. Mental attack. Lu Zhe thought that with his speed, Qin Chen would not be able to catch up if he wanted to leave, but suddenly, a terrifying mental storm rushed into his mind. He immediately felt dizzy, and his body seemed to be pulled into an endless, cold, and dark abyss. He was immediately shocked. Lu Zhe immediately understood that this was a mental attack, and a very terrifying mental attack. Even the level of this mental shock had definitely reached the 6th level, otherwise it would not have such a huge impact on his perception. How is this possible? This child is clearly only at the martial sect realm, how can he possess such a terrifying mental attack? This is impossible. Lu Zhe's heart trembled wildly, as if a storm had been stirred up, but at this moment, he couldn't care about anything else. While his consciousness was still clear, he, spat out a mouthful of blood essence onto the Li Kan sacred mirror in his hand, and then crazily illuminated Qin Chen. Boom! A dazzling white light carrying a vast and ancient aura of destruction, fell from the 9 heavens like a galaxy, instantly bombarding Qin Chen. Kid, you forced me. Frost, explode for me. At the same time, he roared angrily, and the frost spear in his hand seemed to explode instantly. From the frost spear, countless dazzling runes suddenly lit up. Each of these runes contained an astonishing and terrifying aura, erupting into countless terrifying light and shadows. In an instant, countless dazzling white frost spear fragments, carrying ear-piercing and sharp whistling sounds, surged towards Qin Chen like crazy, extremely fast. Each one was comparable to Lu Zai's previous full-force attack, so powerful that it made people feel perverted. These frost spear shadows not only had ear-piercing whistling sounds, but also a wailing howl that echoed through the heavens and earth, reverberating in Qin Chen's ears, as if it could crush a person's soul. What kind of treasure is this? It even has a rune array seal. Qin Chen was shocked. The white light of the sky full of spear shadows and the light of the sacred mirror illuminated Qin Chen, and Qin Chen instantly felt a strong sense of crisis lingering in his heart, which could even threaten his life and death. In the midst of the crisis, Qin Chen's expression remained unchanged, and the mysterious rusty sword in his hand suddenly flew out. Sword control technique. Ding! The simple and mysterious rusty sword pierced through the void, bringing with it a sharp sword light, and instantly slashed on the Li Kan sacred mirror. A strong sword intent surged out, and with a bang, it directly blasted the Li Kan sacred mirror urged by Lu Zai away from its original position. At the same time, a black gourd appeared in Qin Chen's hand. On the black gourd, light surged, and instantly a large number of chi-devouring ants and fire-refining insects surged out. The sky full of spear shadows and white light that originally enveloped Qin Chen was constantly melting under the crazy devouring of the chi-devouring ants. Immediately afterwards, countless chi-devouring ants and fire-refining insects instantly wrapped Lu Zai. What the hell are these things? Get out of here! Seeing that his desperate trump card was also easily crushed by Qin Chen, and that Qin Chen's methods were still emerging one after another, with a flying sword that was so strong that it was perverted and these sky full of flying insects, things that the other party had not taken out before, Lu Zai's heart was already full of fear. He frantically danced the frost spear, trying to sweep away the sky full of insects, but it was useless. These insects were terrifyingly powerful, and his attacks made a clanging sound. Not many of them died, but these insects were frantically devouring the true energy and frost energy on his body, and he couldn't stop them at all. Such perverted and strange spiritual insects. Are you, the blood insect human demon? No. It is rumored that the blood insect human demon is only a 5th level martial sect, and he is not a teenager at all. Who are you exactly? Lu Zai roared and roared, on the verge of losing his composure under the threat of death. He retreated frantically, trying to escape the encirclement of the insect swarm. Don't even think about who I am, die. Now that things had reached this point, how could Qin Chen let the other party escape? Under the urging of mental power, the mysterious rusty sword slashed out again, bringing with it endless sword intent and killing intent. Lu Zai felt the strong killing intent of the mysterious rusty sword, and his face suddenly turned pale. A shield quickly appeared in his hand, and with a cracking sound, this shield only blocked the mysterious rusty sword for a blink of an eye before it was cut in two. Puff! The sound of sword energy cutting into flesh and blood rang out, and half of Lu Zai's arm was instantly chopped off, exploding into a blood mist under the stirring of the sword intent. Lu Zai screamed, and before he could say a word of begging for mercy, the sky full of chi-devouring ants and fire-refining insects had already heavily wrapped him, followed by an even more fierce sword light that instantly annihilated him, turning him into nothingness. In the next moment, the sky full of insects returned to the black gourd, and Qin Chen also had a spear, an ancient mirror, and a storage ring in his hand. Qin Chen didn't even glance at him, directly stowing away the 3 items before swallowing a few nourishing true pills. Although Qin Chen was mostly unharmed in the previous battle, he had sustained some minor injuries, and his true energy had been significantly depleted. These nourishing true pills could rapidly restore the true energy he had consumed. Although such pills were precious, in the perilous Black Death Marsh, danger could arise at any moment. A mere few nourishing true pills were nothing to Qin Chen. After swallowing a few pills, Qin Chen's true energy recovered considerably in just a short while. He then opened his eyes, a look of contemplation on his face. As expected of a martial venerable. Even a 6th-level early-stage martial venerable like Lu Zhe, who had been in a high position for many years, possessed treasures that could be considered monstrous. If he hadn't had so many trump cards this time, any other martial artist, even some 6th-level early-stage martial venerables, might have died at Lu Zhe's hands. Unfortunately, he encountered Qin Chen. He could only die with regret. Young Master Chen, you killed Lu Zhe. Han Yu had been watching from the side and couldn't help but walk over quickly, his face filled with disbelief. This was the vice president of the Valley Wind Merchant Guild, one of Bianzu's top forces, a 6th-level martial venerable early-stage powerhouse. He was actually killed by young Master Chen. Shock. Unprecedented shock. Previously, in the ancient southern capital, although Qin Chen had fought against many geniuses from Xuanzu, Han Yu still regarded Qin Chen as a junior. Even after he was captured by Qin Chen, he only thought that Qin Chen had used the encirclement of the formation, coupled with the freakishness of the Azure Lotus demonic fire. But now, Han Yu deeply understood how terrifying Qin Chen was. This wasn't some junior at all, but a top powerhouse he needed to look up to. Good. That's great, Han Yu muttered to himself, still in shock. A mere 6th-level early-stage martial venerable, what's there to be surprised about? Before long, you'll be able to kill one too. Qin Chen didn't take it to heart, saying casually. I can kill one too. Han Yu murmured. He thought Qin Chen was just comforting him. After initially obtaining the Heavenly Demon banner, he indeed had such thoughts, but now he understood that even if Lu Zhe didn't have the Li Can sacred mirror, it would be impossible for him to kill the other party. As a martial artist's cultivation increased, each small realm's improvement became vastly different, like an insurmountable chasm. As for freaks like Qin Chen, they were just exceptions. Young Master Chen, where are we going now? Recovering from his shock, Han Yu asked. He knew that Qin Chen had come to this Black Death Marsh to find the bitter rime mushroom. Now that he had obtained it, he should be leaving. Moreover, they had killed Lu Zhe, the vice president of the Valley Wind Merchant Guild, here. Once the people of the Valley Wind Merchant Guild found out, there would be endless troubles, and they had to leave as soon as possible. Qin Chen didn't answer, but looked at Han Yu and said, how are your injuries? Han Yu hurriedly said, although I haven't fully recovered, it's not a big problem anymore. That's good, come with me. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Chen immediately led the way. Han Yu followed closely behind. The two continued to fly forward. After a while, Han Yu couldn't help but become suspicious and said, young Master Chen, where are we going? This doesn't seem like the way back. Did I say we were going back? Qin Chen asked, turning his head. This. Han Yu was stunned. Now that the bitter rime mushroom had been found, where else could they go if they weren't going back? Although he was puzzled, he didn't continue to ask, but obediently followed behind Qin Chen. Half an hour later, Han Yu gradually understood. He had discovered that the place Qin Chen was going to was actually the location of the secret realm where he had told him the bitter rime mushroom was. But now that the bitter rime mushroom had already been obtained, what was young Master Chen going back for? However, Han Yu now obeyed Qin Chen's every word. Even if he took him to the headquarters of the Valley Wind Merchant Guild, he wouldn't frown. After Qin Chen returned to the lake, he took Han Yu directly into the underground ruins. Han Yu, we'll cultivate here. We'll only go out after you break through to the martial venerable realm. Qin Chen said, pointing to the somewhat messy ruins below. Break through to martial venerable. Han Yu was still observing the ruins when he saw the messy scene. He immediately understood that young Master Chen must have experienced a fierce battle after arriving here. But then, after hearing Qin Chen's words, he was instantly stunned. Young Master Chen, wait for me to break through to martial venerable, this also. Han Yu had no confidence in himself at all. Don't worry, since I said so, I naturally have some assurance. Qin Chen said affirmatively. He still had 2 bitter rime pills and 6 pills refined from the black olive root. These things were enough for Han Yu to break through to the martial venerable realm. Initially, Qin Chen didn't plan to give the bitter rhyme pill to Yu, but after experiencing the previous battle, Qin Chen trusted Yu quite a bit, so he naturally didn't hide anything anymore. Moreover, after he broke through to the martial grandmaster realm, Yu's strength not only couldn't help him, but even held him back, so he urgently needed to improve. Furthermore, after seeing these underground ruins, Qin Chen became interested in this Black Death Marsh. Since he had come to this Black Death Marsh once, he didn't want to leave immediately, but wanted to carefully explore the details of this Black Death Marsh. After all, he highly suspected that the Azure Lotus demonic fire, the Black Gourd, and the bitter rime mushroom here were left behind by some powerful figure from ancient times. Now that these things had been taken away by him, it was equivalent to touching someone else's treasures. If possible, it would be better to find out more. There's no need to say anything else. I have a few pills here, as well as a cultivation method for circulating true energy. First, treat your injuries and adjust your body. When your body recovers to its peak, come and find me. Without waiting for Yu to say anything, Qin Chen directly handed over a bottle of pills. Yu's hands trembled. Although he was still a little incredulous, he had never seen Qin Chen break his word since he had followed him for so long. Can I really break through to Martial Venerable? With extreme excitement and doubt in his heart, Yu immediately began to heal and cultivate in the underground ruins. While Yu was healing, Qin Chen quickly set up a formation in the underground ruins. In fact, he had just broken through to the Martial Grandmaster realm and still had too many things to comprehend, but he was in a hurry to rescue Yu before, so he didn't carefully comprehend them. Now that Yu was preparing to break through, he naturally needed a quiet environment to comprehend them. Although this place was hidden, someone might accidentally break in, so setting up a formation was obviously better. After an hour, Qin Chen had already set up several linked 5th-level formations in this place. These formations, when combined, even formed a small 6th-level formation. In other words, even if a 6th-level martial venerable accidentally stumbled in, they might not be able to break through it immediately, affecting Qin Chen. Seeing the formations he had set up, Qin Chen nodded in satisfaction before entering the formation. He first took out the storage rings of Lu Zhe and Ju Moxen. He first investigated Ju Moxen's storage ring, and after checking it, he was quite surprised. Because Ju Moxen had been in Hainu City for a long time, there were quite a few spiritual herbs in his storage ring, many of which were at the 5th level, which were almost exactly what Qin Chen needed now. In addition to some spiritual herbs, Qin Chen also saw a lot of true stones in Ju Moxen's storage ring. There were at least tens of thousands of low-grade true stones, and hundreds of middle-grade true stones. However, some of the elixirs inside were of no use to Qin Chen. After putting all the things he needed into his bag, Qin Chen began to check Lu Zhe's storage ring. As soon as he opened it, Qin Chen was almost stunned. The first thing that caught Qin Chen's eyes was the dense mass of true stones. Among them, there were as many as 300,000 to 400,000 low-grade true stones, and even tens of thousands of middle-grade true stones. Hiss! Unable to help but gasp, Qin Chen was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that Lu Zhe, a 6th-level early-stage martial venerable, would have so many true stones on him. These true stones were naturally nothing to the former Qin Chen, but to the reborn Qin Chen, they were almost the largest fortune he had ever seen. Qin Chen didn't expect that the true stones he had just exhausted because of breaking through to martial sect would be replenished in just half a day, and even far exceeded the number he had previously possessed. With these true stones, he wouldn't be too strapped for cash, at least until he cultivated to the late peak of the 5th level. After putting all the true stones into his storage ring, Qin Chen once again found a lot of spiritual herbs in Lu Zhe's storage ring. There were hundreds of these spiritual herbs, the worst of which were 4th-level spiritual herbs, most of which were 5th-level spiritual herbs, and a small number of which were 6th-level spiritual herbs. Great! With these spiritual herbs, it would be almost no problem for Yu to break through to the 6th-level martial venerable, and maybe even go further. Qin Chen was overjoyed as he put away the spiritual herbs. In addition to true stones and spiritual herbs, Qin Chen also found a lot of high-level materials and a lot of elixirs in Lu Zhe's storage ring. That small storage ring was simply like a treasure trove. What Qin Chen didn't know was that the treasures in Lu Zai's storage ring, in addition to his own accumulation over the decades, also included many things that the Gufeng Chamber of Commerce had obtained from the Black Death Swamp during this period. For example, the 340,000 low-grade true stones required 100 low-grade true stones for a martial artist to enter the Black Death Swamp. 3 to 400,000 meant 3 to 4,000 people. These true stones did not belong to Lu Zai alone, but were temporarily stored in his storage ring as the wealth of the Gufeng Chamber of Commerce. However, as the vice president of the Gufeng Chamber of Commerce stationed in Hainu City, Lu Zai naturally would not store these true stones in the Gufeng Chamber of Commerce's residence in Hainu City, but carried them with him. For someone like him, it was obviously safer to store them on his person than to store them in the residence. Unexpectedly, in the end, all these things benefited Qin Chen, and were swept away by Qin Chen. After excitedly plundering the storage ring, Qin Chen began to observe the Li Can sacred mirror that Lu Zai possessed. As soon as he got his hands on this ancient mirror, it felt heavy, and he couldn't tell what material it was made of. This surprised Qin Chen. In this world, there were not many things whose materials he could not recognize. As soon as he penetrated his mental power into it, Qin Chen immediately discovered that this ancient mirror should belong to the category of true treasures, containing dense restrictions, and complex runes around the restrictions. These restrictions and runes were very complex, and Qin Chen only saw through the outermost layer after observing for a long time. The origin of this Li Can sacred mirror is definitely extraordinary. Qin Chen's eyes narrowed. With his knowledge, he could naturally see that this Li Can sacred mirror was definitely not only at the 6th level, but the reason why its power was not strong before was only because Lu Zai had not completely refined it and completely exerted its power. Refine it and see first. Qin Chen immediately began to refine it. After a while, buzz, a hazy, holy light immediately bloomed from this ancient mirror, and at the same time, several large characters appeared in Qin Chen's mind. Li Can sacred mirror. Those few large characters were full of an ancient and vast feeling, giving Qin Chen an immediate feeling of insignificance. In particular, this holy aura, when integrated into Qin Chen's body, made Qin Chen feel as if his whole body had been baptized. No wonder this Li Can sacred mirror can suppress Hainu's demonic banner. This aura is holy, but it has extremely strong destructive power, which is almost exactly what restrains the demonic banner. After studying it for a while, Qin Chen also had some understanding of the effects of this Li Can sacred mirror. This Li Can sacred mirror can be stimulated by a martial artist's true power, and it can immediately burst out extremely powerful destructive power. Once this power falls on a martial artist, it will cause extremely terrifying damage to the martial artist. Moreover, the strength of the destructive power is related to the purity and intensity of the martial artist's true power. In other words, the stronger the true power and the higher the purity, the greater the damage caused. However, the only thing that made Qin Chen depressed was the restrictions on this Li Can sacred mirror are extremely deep. He exhausted all his energy, and in the end, he could only refine a part of it. He could feel that this was not all the functions of the Li Can sacred mirror. This Li Can sacred mirror is at least above the 7th level king grade true treasure. My current cultivation is too low, and it is also difficult to completely control it. Qin Chen shook his head. The activation of true treasures is different from others, and requires equal cultivation. Without too much research, Qin Chen put away the Li Can sacred mirror, then sat cross-legged and carefully comprehended. The previous battle with Lu Zai, in addition to letting Qin Chen understand his current strength, also made him understand his current weaknesses. All the places that he had not mastered in place before, and the true power that had not yet been integrated, was slowly improving under Qin Chen's retreat. Especially now that he has true stones, elixirs, and he himself is an alchemist, with 5th level spiritual herbs everywhere on his body, he is not afraid that there are not enough cultivation resources at all. For him, improving his strength is the only thing he is willing to do now. As time passed, the lake gradually calmed down. No one knew that there was an underground relic here, and no one knew that there were 2 people in retreat. At this moment, somewhere deep within the Black Death Marsh, A group of people with extraordinary bearing were gathered here. Their expressions were solemn, and the group seemed to have formed a strange formation, surrounding a powerful entity in the center. Roar! 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 In front of these people, there was even a group of blood beasts exuding an evil aura. Judging from their auras, these blood beasts were clearly native to the Black Death Marsh. Each of these blood beasts possessed combat power at the peak of the 5th rank, no weaker than the mud dragon that Qin Chen and the others had killed before. But at this moment, these blood beasts seemed to be obeying the orders of this group of people. Under their control, they were frantically attacking the center of the circle. And in the center of this circle, a blood beast covered in scarlet scales was roaring madly. Under the siege of 7 or 8 peak 5th rank blood beasts, it was covered in blood and kept roaring. This blood beast was the extremely terrifying blood scythe beast of the Black Death Marsh. The blood scythe beast was a 6th rank venerable level blood beast, and could be considered a tyrant in the Black Death Marsh. Its most amazing feature was its speed. Its attacks were extremely terrifying, and even 6th rank martial venerables found it difficult to dodge. As for 5th rank martial grandmasters, they couldn't even see how this beast attacked before being killed. Such a terrifying blood beast was considered by many martial artists venturing into the Black Death Marsh to be no less terrifying than the Netherworld beast. But at this moment, this blood scythe beast was surrounded by the formation formed by these people. It charged left and right, but couldn't break free no matter what. Its body was covered in blood, and it had obviously suffered considerable injuries. At its feet, several 5th rank blood beasts had already fallen. Poochie. Amidst its roars, the blood scythe beast attacked frantically. Its pair of sharp claws had sharp bone blades on the back, and the bone blades were serrated, like scythes. With a flash, a 5th rank blood beast screamed and was immediately split into 2, dying on the spot. Mana Lord, the 5th rank blood beasts that we managed to control are almost dead. If this continues, and the blood scythe beast escapes, all our previous efforts will be in vain. A middle-aged man with a gaunt face stood beside a burly, imposing middle-aged man and said nervously, "Mo King, don't worry. This blood scythe beast, this Mana Lord has investigated it very thoroughly. Under our beast-controlling formation, it has no power to escape at all. Don't be fooled by its current vigor. It's actually at the end of its rope. Just wait a little longer, and it will definitely submit." The burly middle-aged man said with a faint smile, confident, "As long as we tame this blood scythe beast, even if all the other 5th rank blood beasts in this Black Death Marsh die, it won't matter." Understood. Mana Lord. Mo King nodded, and immediately the group's attacks became even more swift and fierce. Rumble. In an instant, 3 more 5th rank blood beasts died, but the blood scythe beast was also at the end of its rope. With a thud, it fell to the ground, covered in blood, and was obviously unable to fight any longer. Blood scythe beast, I am the Mana Lord of the beast-controlling mana. Now, you are on the verge of death. As long as you submit to me, I will let you out. How about it? The burly middle-aged man slowly stepped forward and said loudly. As a beast controller, he knew very well that 6th rank blood beasts already possessed some simple intelligence. Although they couldn't communicate normally, they could barely understand some simple content in human conversation. Roar. The blood scythe beast roared angrily. Its eyes were ferocious, filled with monstrous murderous intent, obviously preferring death to submission. Ignorant. Do you think that just because you're unwilling, I can't tame you? The burly middle-aged man sneered. A simple and unadorned talisman appeared in his hand. As soon as the talisman was activated, it immediately released a terrifying blood-colored light. The talisman quickly burned, and then turned into a blood-colored rune in the void, instantly entering the blood scythe beast's head. The blood scythe beast howled in pain, its body seeming to be burning. A blood-colored texture restricted its entire body, emitting a monstrous aura. The burly middle-aged man formed hand seals with both hands, chanting incantations in his mouth. Invisible forces emanated from his hands, and finally merged into the blood scythe beast's body. Go! He shouted sharply, and finally that force instantly entered the blood scythe beast's body. Finally, the blood scythe beast's screams subsided, and the ferocity in its eyes disappeared. It knelt on the ground, and although there was unwillingness in the depths of its eyes, it ultimately looked at the burly middle-aged man respectfully. Ha ha ha. Congratulations, Manor Lord, on taming the blood-scythe beast. Father, you're too strong. The group on the field stepped forward one after another, saying with joy. If Qin Chen were here, he would see that one of the young men was Mo Xiang, the young master of the beast-controlling manor, who had had a conflict with him before. And that burly middle-aged man was Mo Xincheng, the manor lord of the beast-controlling manor, one of Bian Prefecture's top forces, and Mo Xiang's father. Mo Xincheng smiled faintly, and quickly pointed with both hands. Instantly, invisible forces merged into the bodies of the several fifth-rank blood beasts that were still alive. The few fifth-rank blood beasts screamed and instantly exploded, and streams of blood-colored power rose from the bodies of these blood beasts. Under the control of the burly middle-aged man, they all poured into the blood-scythe beast's body. Visibly to the naked eye, the blood-scythe beast's originally severe injuries were now rapidly recovering. In the end, its aura almost returned to its peak. Manor Lord, this bloodthirsty technique is simply too powerful. Many experts from the beast-controlling manor were shocked and murmured. Mo Xincheng smiled slightly. This technique was left by my Mo family's ancestor hundreds of years ago. It was originally created to target the blood beasts of this Black Death Marsh. This Manor Lord has also studied it for a long time before comprehending it. As expected, the effect is extraordinary. Ha ha ha. Manor Lord, with this divine technique, coupled with the Manor Lord already taming this blood-scythe beast, wouldn't my beast-controlling manor be able to unify this Black Death Marsh? Mo King said excitedly. Unification is not yet possible. It's a pity that my Mo family's ancestor didn't leave behind many beast-controlling talismans. Otherwise, taming a few more sixth-rank blood beasts would indeed allow us to run rampant in this Black Death Marsh. Mo Xincheng shook his head. Then he looked at the crowd behind him and said coldly, all of you, follow me to explore this Black Death Marsh. This Manor Lord received information that, in addition to my Great Wei dynasty, the Great Xia dynasty and Great Zhou dynasty experts have discovered a relic in the depths of the Black Death Marsh that leads to a strange place. We must rush over as soon as possible. Manor Lord, is Mo Xiang going too? Mo King was stunned. Mo Xiang was only a profound-level peak martial artist, and in this dangerous Black Death Marsh, he was almost useless. Of course Xiang Heir is going. This Manor Lord heard that in the depths of this Black Death Marsh, there may be magical treasures that allow people to break through. It is said that some of the top geniuses of the Great Xia dynasty and the Great Zhou dynasty have already come here. Taking this opportunity, Xiang Heir must break through to the martial Grandmaster realm. Also, you, Mo King, may also break through to the martial Venerable realm, so there must be no mistakes. Otherwise, why would this Manor Lord painstakingly tame this blood-scythe beast? This Manor Lord doesn't want to hear that Xiang Heir was defeated by some teenager again. My Mo Xincheng's son must be the most top-notch genius in the world. Yes, father, I will certainly not let you down. Mo Xiang's face turned ashen as he clenched his fists, and he said in a cold voice. He knew what his father meant, which was the matter of him being defeated by Qin Chen at the gate of Black Marsh City. Father, don't worry, I heard that kid has also come to this Black Death Swamp, maybe there will be a chance to meet him. When that time comes, I will definitely make them die without a burial place. Mo Xiang said through gritted teeth. You understand, that's good. Mo Xincheng nodded. Let's go. Immediately, a group of people, along with a sixth-order blood-scythe beast, disappeared into the vast world of the Black Death Swamp in the blink of an eye. At this time, outside Black Marsh City, a black figure was standing outside Black Marsh City, exuding an evil aura. The aura on his body was so terrifying that when he passed through the city gate, the guards of Black Marsh City didn't even dare to ask. Only after the other party entered Black Marsh City did they breathe a sigh of relief, their bodies still filled with lingering fear. The aura of the Master Helmsman once lingered here. It seems that the other party should be nearby. His eyes narrowed, and the man in black exuded a cold aura. This person was none other than the heavenly demon elder sent by the skeleton Master Helmsman of the Blood Demon sect. I also don't know which guy killed Elder Blood Eagle. If I'm not mistaken, this place should be the Black Death Swamp that the Holy Sect once recorded. To actually make this old man run all the way here from the branch, it's really damn it. These days, The heavenly demon elder had been tracking Qin Chen's remaining aura all the way here, and he was almost going crazy. As a core elder of the blood demon sect's branch, when had he ever been taken so far by someone? According to the records of the holy sect, this Black Death Swamp is an ancient and terrifying place. This place is full of dangers, but there are also many good things, especially suitable for my holy sect disciples to cultivate. Well, since I've come here, it would be good if I could break through to the late stage of Martial Venerable here. But before that, I have to find that kid's whereabouts. His eyes were cold, and the heavenly demon elder's figure flickered, and he instantly disappeared into Black Marsh City. At this time, in the underground ruins of the lake, Qin Chen was constantly cultivating. He now had hundreds of thousands of true stones, so he naturally didn't save any when cultivating. He not only arranged a gathering chi formation, but also used true stones to form a nurturing place suitable for cultivation. One true stone after another was constantly used by Qin Chen. Several days passed, and Qin Chen's true power, which had reached the peak of the mid-stage of the 5th rank, became more and more condensed, and the purity of the 9-star God Emperor art became more and more terrifying. However, Qin Chen didn't show any signs of breaking through. In fact, he had just broken through from the mysterious rank to the peak of the mid-stage of the sect rank, and Qin Chen didn't expect to break through to the late stage of the 5th rank all at once. He was just constantly consolidating his cultivation, making his cultivation more and more solid. For the current Qin Chen, what he was considering was not the late stage of the 5th rank at all, it was just a matter of time. What he was considering was how to break through to Martial Venerable in the future. It could be said that everything he was doing now was paving the way for breaking through to the Martial Venerable realm in the future. In the midst of frantic cultivation, Qin Chen almost forgot the time. It was only when Hainu walked out of the formation that he opened his eyes. After several days of recuperation, Hainu's aura had already climbed to an extreme. The injuries he had suffered before had completely healed, and his entire state was unprecedentedly full. Seeing Qin Chen come out, a trace of excitement immediately flashed across Hainu's face. Good. The adjustment is not bad. Qin Chen immediately saw that Hainu's state had been adjusted to an unprecedentedly good level. A pill appeared in his hand, and he said, "This is the bitter rime pill. Take it first to expel the pill toxins from your body and adjust your state to the extreme." Yes, young Master Chen. Hainu excitedly took the bitter rime pill. Although he had long known that there was bitter rime grass here, he never thought that he would have the day to take the bitter rime pill in his lifetime. I have decomposed this bitter rime pill. If one pill is not effective enough, tell me in time. Qin Chen added. He only had 2 10,000-year bitter rime pills left on him. Therefore, in the previous few days, Qin Chen had decomposed these 2 bitter rime pills into 10 pills. Qin Chen was very clear that the reason why he needed to consume so many bitter rime pills was entirely because of the undying holy body, the 9-star God Emperor art, and the azure lotus demonic fire. For Hainu and the others, even 1/5 of a 10,000-year bitter rime pill should be effective enough. After all, the efficacy of one 10,000-year bitter rime pill, in true comparison, was even more than 10 ordinary bitter rime pills. As soon as this bitter rime pill entered his stomach, an astonishing aura immediately erupted from Hainu's body. At the same time, his whole body began to experience severe pain. This pain was even more terrifying than Qin Chen's, and the intensity of the reaction was even stronger than Qin Chen's. In terms of the rapid accumulation of pill toxins and impurities in his body, Hainu had more than 10 times more than Qin Chen. A large amount of dirt, impurities, and pill toxins were expelled by Hainu. The whole process lasted almost a day. In the end, Hainu's whole body was covered in black blood, and he almost became a blood man. As Qin Chen expected, throughout the entire process, there was no situation where the medicinal effect of the bitter rime pill was not enough. Even at the end, some of the medicinal effect of the bitter rime pill was wasted after all the pill toxins were emptied. Young Master Chen, I feel that my current state is unprecedentedly good. After the stains on his body were washed away, Hainu was refreshed and said with great excitement. At this time, the meridians in his body were incomparably tough, as if they had been reborn. Even without taking any pills, he had an urge to break through. This was because his cultivation had already accumulated to the limit of the 5th rank for so many years, but he was simply unable to break through due to the defects in his body, his foundation, and a large amount of pill toxins. Now that these hidden dangers were eliminated, he naturally wanted to break through. Don't worry, I have some pills and true stones here. You can start breaking through now. Qin Chen had already anticipated all of this and immediately handed over 2 bottles of pills, as well as a gathering chi formation composed of a large number of true stones, to assist Hainyu in breaking through. These pills were refined by Qin Chen in his spare time these past few days. Among them, in addition to pills for breaking through, there were also pills like black olive root to consolidate true power, which were enough to make Hainyu's breakthrough unprecedentedly smooth. Yes, young Master Chen. After taking the pills, Hainyu couldn't wait to enter the formation and began to break through. In just a moment, an astonishing aura was immediately transmitted from the Great Formation. Immediately afterwards, countless true chi in the world quickly condensed, and a large amount of true chi frantically converged into the middle of the formation, pouring into Hainyu's body. The whole process lasted a full day. In the middle, the true stones in the formation were exhausted several times. When the violent fluctuations ended, a long roar was transmitted from the formation. Immediately afterwards, Hainyu, who was exuding a terrifying aura, walked out of the formation. At this time, the aura on his body had clearly stepped into the 6th order martial venerable realm, and had directly reached the peak of the initial stage. I actually broke through to the 6th level martial venerable. After coming out, Hainyu blankly felt the thick true essence within his body, his entire person even turning foolish, seemingly still unable to believe that he had already broken through to the martial venerable realm. Martial venerable, what a noble title that was. In the Great Wei dynasty, once someone stepped into the martial venerable realm, it signified that this person had truly entered the ranks of the strong, and even some of the top forces of the various states would not dare to easily offend such a figure. In fact, ever since obtaining the black gourd and discovering that his body was becoming increasingly unbearable, Hainyu had even lost confidence in breaking through to the martial venerable realm. His only thought was to continuously break through the azure lotus demonic fire, so that he would have a chance for revenge. But now, how long had it been since he followed Qin Chen? He had actually truly broken through to the martial venerable realm. He simply didn't dare to imagine it. Young Master Chen, from now on, Hainyu's life is yours. No matter what you ask Hainyu to do, even if it's going through mountains of knives and seas of fire, if Hainyu has the slightest complaint, may I be struck by lightning and die. Hainyu knelt down in front of Qin Chen with a thud, his eyes resolute and tears streaming down his face. Look at how excited you are. Qin Chen waved his hand, and an invisible force instantly held up Hainyu's body, slowly lifting him up, so much so that even Hainyu, who had just broken through, found it somewhat difficult to resist. Only then did Hainyu feel the terror of Qin Chen's strength, and also understand why Lu Zhe, a 6th level martial venerable, was actually not Qin Chen's opponent. The reason this young master allowed you to break through is only because your previous performance was satisfactory to this young master, and also, your original cultivation was of increasingly less assistance to this young master. Hainyu smiled wryly. What Qin Chen said was indeed the truth. If Qin Chen hadn't intervened, he would have even died at Lu Zhe's hands earlier. Qin Chen glanced at him and said indifferently, "Don't worry, this young master's previous promise to you is still valid. Furthermore, the martial venerable realm is just the beginning. As long as you obey this young master and satisfy this young master, in the future, not to mention martial venerable, even martial king and martial emperor are not impossible, right?" Martial king, martial emperor. Hainyu's heart was shaken. Was that really possible? Martial king. Those were figures at the very top of the pyramid in the entire Great Wei dynasty, whose words carried immense weight. Searching through the entire Great Wei dynasty, such experts were few and far between. And martial emperor, even more so, was a heaven-defying powerhouse who had not appeared in the Great Wei dynasty for thousands of years. Such a figure could decide the life and death of a dynasty with a single word. Could he also reach that level? If someone else had said this to him, Hainyu would have already looked disdainful and scornful. But Qin Chen's words made Hainyu's heart throb. The 6th-level martial venerable realm that he once looked up to, Qin Chen had allowed him to reach in such a short period of time. Was martial king really impossible? Young Master Chen, rest assured, Hainu will definitely follow you to the death. At this moment, Hainu's gaze was more determined than ever before. Father, mother, little sister, can you see it? Your son has broken through to martial venerable. However, your son's enemies are still too strong. With your son's current strength, wanting to revenge everyone is still wishful thinking. But don't worry, your son will work hard to follow young Master Chen. One day, your son will personally stand in front of our family's enemies and demand justice for our family's many years of suffering. I swear, Hainu roared silently in his heart. All right. Qin Chen glanced at Hainu indifferently. After you broke through to martial venerable, you don't have a suitable weapon on you. This ice-cold spear will be given to you to use. In addition, familiarize yourself with the use of true essence in the martial venerable realm as soon as possible, and regain control of the heavenly devil banner. With your current cultivation, even if that Lu Zhe isn't dead, he will no longer be your opponent. Qin Chen raised his hand and directly threw Lu Zhe's ice-cold spear to Hainu. Although Lu Zhe's ice-cold spear was extraordinary, and might even be a 7th-level king weapon, it was of no use to Qin Chen at all, and it would be better to give it to Hainu to increase his combat power. Hainu took the spear, his entire person stunned. He had seen Lu Zhe's previous attacks, and such a spear was definitely not an ordinary 6th-level treasure weapon. Young Master Chen was just giving it to him like that. For some reason, Hainu's heart warmed. Just as he was about to say something, Qin Chen hurriedly waved his hand. All right, there's no need to say any more grateful words. Let's set off quickly. A moment later, 2 figures were rapidly flying through this black death swamp, heading to the location of another underground relic that was rumored to have been discovered. These 2 people were none other than Qin Chen and Hainu. After a while, the 2 had already arrived at the location of the underground relic. What came into Qin Chen's eyes was a swamp that was in a state of utter disarray, but in this swamp, holes had been dug out one after another, and faint medicinal herb scents emanated from these holes, leading to unknown depths. It seems that this place has already been searched by who knows how many people. Qin Chen shook his head. Judging from the current traces, this place had already been searched by thousands of martial artists, and each hole was likely a passage. Even if there were treasures, they were probably already looted clean. However, judging from the arrangement of these holes, this place might really be an ancient relic. Qin Chen murmured. After pondering for a moment, his figure swayed and he flew directly into one of the holes where the medicinal herb scent was still relatively strong. This hole was located at the bottom of the Black Death Swamp. It didn't look big from the outside, but once inside, the passage was extremely large. The ancient black rocks that made up the passage emitted a chilling aura that made one's heart palpitate. Qin Chen and Hainu flew for a full half-incense stick of time before arriving at the end of the passage. Qin Chen thought that what he would see would be a place like an underground cave, but who knew that when the passage came to an end, what was presented in front of him was actually another world. Gloomy skies, dark earth, it was just like another Black Death Swamp. If it wasn't because Qin Chen and Hainu had flown in the underground passage for a long time before arriving at this place, they would have even thought that this was still the Black Death Swamp. Young Master Chen, what exactly is this place? Hainu couldn't help but open his mouth in shock. Qin Chen frowned and said, there are 2 possibilities. One is that this is the underground world of this Black Death Swamp, formed into a secret realm-like existence by some ancient force using great power. The second possibility is that this is actually the Black Death Swamp, just a special place deep within the Black Death Swamp. The underground passage we just walked through was just the entrance to that special place. Let's continue to look ahead. Qin Chen became increasingly interested in this so-called Black Death Swamp. Regardless of which possibility it was, the force that could arrange such a secret realm was definitely not ordinary. The 2 of them rapidly flew through this underground ruin. Originally, they thought there would be many spiritual herbs in this underground ruin, but Qin Chen had been flying for a long time and hadn't seen a single one. However, it wasn't as if there were no gains at all. In this underground ruin, there was also a lot of miasma floating around. After Qin Chen analyzed it, this miasma should be the reason for the changes in the miasma outside. In that case, the sudden increase in the terribleness of the miasma in the Black Death Swamp should be because someone discovered the entrance to this underground ruin, which resulted in the miasma from the underground ruin dissipating into the Black Death Swamp outside. The miasma between the two mixed together and produced a new miasma, which is why the original detoxifying pills lost their effectiveness. But what was that spiritual herb fragrance from before? What Qin Chen couldn't understand was the faint spiritual herb fragrance at the entrance of the underground ruin outside. Those spiritual herb fragrances definitely existed, and judging from the aura, they were definitely some high-level spiritual herbs. However, after entering the underground ruin through the passage, that spiritual herb fragrance disappeared instead. If it were other martial artists, they might have thought they had smelled it wrong, but Qin Chen was very clear that he definitely hadn't smelled it wrong. It was definitely that spiritual herb fragrance that suddenly disappeared. Young Master Chen, many people should have been here before. Passing by some places, Hainu and Qin Chen saw many traces of battle, as well as some footprints in the Black Death Swamp. It was obvious that many people had passed by this place before. We're still a little late. Even if there are spiritual herbs here, they should have been scavenged clean. Hainu said dejectedly. Suddenly, Qin Chen stopped at the edge of a messy swamp. Young Master Chen, what's wrong? Hainu looked over in confusion. He only saw a swamp in front of him, the ground was quite messy, and there were even many footprints, but there was no one here, and no spiritual herbs either. Hainu didn't know why Qin Chen had stopped, but Qin Chen's mental power swept over a hidden restriction that had been broken. This restriction should have broken on its own due to its age, but even so, ordinary people wouldn't be able to see it. But Qin Chen was a master of formations. After his mental power swept over it, he immediately saw that this was a hidden restriction. And according to the messy traces around it, Qin Chen was sure that this restriction must have been discovered by many people. Follow me. With a low shout, Qin Chen led Hainu into the hidden restriction. The two of them immediately entered a completely new place. After seeing the scene inside the restriction, both of them were stunned. This place was completely different from the desolate scene of the Black Death Swamp outside. What came into the two of their eyes was a not small valley. The valley was full of green, giving people a pleasing feeling. It's just that at this moment, this green place had been trampled into a mess. Nearly 100 martial artists were searching everywhere in this messy valley. And at the entrance of the valley, there were still a few people guarding it. Near these few people, there were 7 or 8 corpses lying on the ground, blood flowing all over the place. But it could be seen that these people hadn't been killed for long, and it was very likely that they had been killed by these fierce martial artists guarding the entrance. In the air, there was a faint fragrance of spiritual herbs. Qin Chen's heart immediately rejoiced. With his discerning eyes, he instantly saw that this place should be a medicinal field, and a medicinal field of not low grade, otherwise the aura of spiritual herbs here couldn't be so strong. However, looking around, the valley had almost been swept clean. There were no spiritual herbs visible on the surface, but there were still hundreds of people searching everywhere here. What puzzled Qin Chen was that in this valley, Qin Chen saw the Yin family siblings, whom they had interacted with in Black Swamp Plaza before. At this time, the two of them were not searching for spiritual herbs, but were standing not far from the valley entrance, their faces extremely gloomy. Moreover, both of them were obviously injured, with Yin Feng's injuries being extremely serious. After Qin Chen and Hainu arrived in the valley, they immediately attracted everyone's attention. One of the half-step martial venerables with the most formidable aura immediately frowned when he saw the two of them. Young Master Chen, why are you here? After seeing Qin Chen and Hainu, the Yin family siblings immediately showed surprise on their faces, but then they seemed to have thought of something and quickly closed their mouths. Why are you two here? Qin Chen frowned as he looked at Yin Feng, who was covered in injuries, and slowly walked forward, asking in confusion, what is this place? The few martial artists guarding the valley entrance were originally preparing to go up and reprimand them, but when they saw that Qin Chen seemed to know the Yin family siblings, they suddenly sneered and stopped, not stopping Qin Chen, and ridiculed, 2 more fellows have come. These 2 fellows are even your friends. You still say you didn't get anything. If you don't hand over the things today, don't even think about leaving here. Yin Feng's face was a little ugly, and he said in a deep voice, I've said it before, we've already given you everything we got here. We only happen to know these two. What does it have to do with them? Hee hee. That sounds nice, but whether it has anything to do with it is not up to you to decide. The few martial artists sneered again. The Yin family siblings were exasperated, but they couldn't say a word. Qin Chen glanced at the field and found that the strongest person in the field was only a half-step martial venerable, and immediately withdrew his gaze. What he was concerned about now was what exactly was in this medicinal field, and where had these spiritual herbs gone. Thinking of this, Qin Chen came to the two of them and first gave them a healing pill, and then frowned and said, You two, why are you here, and what exactly is going on with this medicinal field? Ha ha ha, you still say you have nothing to do with them, you even know about the medicinal field. One of the martial artists guarding the valley entrance suddenly sneered. Qin Chen's eyes turned cold. If he hadn't not figured out the situation, he would have crippled this guy long ago. But at this time, he wanted to hear the Yin family siblings talk about the specific situation first. Young Master Chen, you've come at just the right time. This time, we're going to implicate you, Yin Feng smiled wryly. How so? Qin Chen looked puzzled. Let's talk over here. Yin Feng glanced at the few people at the valley entrance and led Qin Chen to a remote corner of the valley. The few martial artists just watched coldly as Qin Chen and the others walked to the corner, a sneer on their lips, but they didn't say anything more. Their eyes seemed to have already determined Qin Chen and the others. Seeing that the other party didn't come up, Yin Feng seemed to breathe a sigh of relief before saying, Young Master Chen, it's like this. As Yin Feng narrated, Qin Chen finally understood the things he was puzzled about. It turned out that after the Yin family siblings separated from Qin Chen and the others at Black Marsh Square, they also followed Qin Chen and the others and came to the Black Death Marsh through the teleportation channel of Tianwu sect. Because they had obtained breakthrough pills from Qin Chen, they planned to concentrate on seclusion, waiting to break through to the late stage of the 5th rank before leaving Black Marsh City to avoid retaliation from the Gufeng Merchant Association. Unexpectedly, because the two of them had been training for many years, their foundations were quite solid. With Qin Chen's pills, they both broke through in just a few days. Yin Feng broke through to the late stage of the 5th rank, and Yin Hong also broke through to the middle stage of the 5th rank. Just as the two siblings were preparing to leave, they heard that the underground ruins had been opened. After thinking about it, the two decided to make one last adventure to see if they could get some treasures before leaving the Black Death Marsh. So they followed the large group of martial artists from Black Marsh City into the underground ruins. After several days of adventure, the two gained nothing. Just as they were about to leave, they accidentally discovered this restriction. There were several other people who discovered the restriction at the beginning, one of whom was a martial artist from the Black Cultivation Society. After they found the entrance to the restriction, they entered this valley together and immediately discovered that this valley was actually a very vast medicine garden. Everyone was naturally overjoyed and began to collect medicinal herbs. Moreover, more and more martial artists discovered this place and came in to pick them. The Yin family siblings were not greedy. After picking some, they were afraid of being discovered by the people of the Gufeng Merchant Association, so they prepared to leave. But at this moment, the martial artist from the Black Cultivation Society said that he was the first to discover this place, so all the martial artists who entered here had to hand over half of the spiritual herbs they picked to the Black Cultivation Society. The Yin family siblings naturally disagreed. This medicine garden and restriction could be said to have been discovered together by them, and there was no distinction between first and last. How could it be considered that the Black Cultivation Society discovered it first? But the martial artist from the Black Cultivation Society said that although the restriction was discovered by everyone, he was the first to enter the medicine garden. The Yin family siblings then realized that this medicine garden was indeed the first one entered by the martial artist from the Black Cultivation Society. It was just that everyone discovered the restriction at the beginning, found the entrance together, and entered one after another, so no one cared who entered first. Even if this martial artist from the Black Cultivation Society was the first to enter, it couldn't be considered that they were the first to discover this medicine garden. However, this reasoning might not matter when talking to ordinary martial artists, but how could it be reasonable to the people of the Black Cultivation Society? Just as the Yin family siblings were preparing to argue with reason, several experts immediately appeared and injured them. At that time, some martial artists wanted to rush out, but they were killed on the spot by these experts. Everyone then discovered that there were already many martial artists from the Black Cultivation Society in this valley at some point. And every martial artist who could enter the Black Cultivation Society had at least a cultivation base of the late stage of the 5th rank. Among them, the strongest one was a steward of the Black Cultivation Society, whose cultivation base had reached the half-step martial venerable realm. That's why they were trapped here. So, these guys are all people from the Black Cultivation Society. Qin Chen glanced at the people at the entrance of the valley. Yes. Yin Feng nodded. Qin Chen glanced at it. There aren't many people here. Could it be that so many of you are afraid of a few people from the Black Cultivation Society? They are taking things by force like this. Aren't you going to fight them? Yin Feng smiled bitterly and said, Young Master Chen, you don't know the status of the Black Cultivation Society in the minds of us martial artists in Black Marsh City. Almost no one dares to oppose them. Even if we can rush out, so what? Can we escape the pursuit of the Black Cultivation Society? In fact, if it weren't for the fact that the people from the Black Cultivation Society wanted to check our storage rings, we would have agreed long ago. What do you mean? Qin Chen frowned. Young Master Chen, in our storage rings, there are the pills you gave us, as well as some winged god flowers. Once they are checked, nothing will be left. Yin Feng said in a low voice. What? Winged god flower? Qin Chen was shocked. Winged god flower was a good thing, a 6th rank spiritual herb. The key was that the effect of this spiritual herb was to reshape the martial artist's body and enhance the strength of the martial artist's body. It could be said to be a rare body refining spiritual herb. As for the pills that Yin Feng mentioned, Qin Chen also understood. The pills he gave to the other party could completely allow the Yin family siblings to break through to the late stage of the 5th rank. Now that Yin Hong was only in the middle stage of the 5th rank, it was obviously impossible to hand over the pills. But how precious were the pills that could allow people to break through the realm? Once the people from the Black Cultivation Society saw them, how could they leave them behind? Actually, it's not just the winged god flower. We also found some golden orchid grass and heavenly jade star before. We originally wanted to hand them over so that the other party could let us go, but the other party went back on their word and still wanted to check the storage rings, so we were stuck. What? There are also golden orchid grass and heavenly jade star. Qin Chen was shocked again. These two were also good things. Although golden orchid grass and heavenly jade star were only 5th rank spiritual herbs, they were very rare in the outside world. Among them, golden orchid grass was a spiritual herb that could strengthen the meridians and remove toxins, so it was naturally extremely rare. But heavenly jade star was even more extraordinary. It could consolidate the spiritual power of the alchemist and even improve the purity of spiritual power, which was also extremely rare. Qin Chen subconsciously glanced at the messy valley that had been trampled on, and his heart suddenly became hot. How many spiritual herbs would there be in such a large place? If he could get these spiritual herbs, not to mention his own strength, he would definitely be able to improve the strength of Wang Qiming, Zhao Lingshan and the others to a higher level. Have these people already handed over the spiritual herbs? Qin Chen looked at the hundreds of people in the field and said in a deep voice. Not yet. In fact, everyone doesn't want to hand them over, so they have been delaying it. And the people from the Black Cultivation Society may also have some concerns, or they want everyone to search the place clean. Currently, they haven't forcibly demanded them, but I think it's about time. Yin Feng shook his head. At this time, Yin Hong said from the side, Young Master Chen, this senior, based on our understanding of the Black Cultivation Society, the people from the Black Cultivation Society will definitely not leave us with any spiritual herbs. If possible, the 4 of us can rush out together. At that time, other martial artists will definitely take action, and it may be feasible. It's just that we are implicating the 2 of you, but after we leave here, we can give all the winged god flowers to the 2 of you. The Yin family siblings were very grateful to Qin Chen and the others, and naturally did not care about the mere winged god flower. Moreover, they also knew the strength of Hainyu, who was able to defeat the bloodthirsty demonic man. If the four of them joined forces, they might not be able to escape. After all, although there were many experts in the Black Cultivation Society, most of them were martial masters in the late stage of the 5th rank, and there was only one half-step martial venerable. Qin Chen smiled and waved his hand. Don't worry, we don't need to rush to kill our way out. I will also help you get back the spiritual herbs that were snatched away by the people from the Black Cultivation Society before. How is it? Have you discussed it? You few, hand over your storage rings. After we check them, we can let you leave. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. The two of you are no exception. Just as Qin Chen was about to take action, the few guys from the Black Cultivation Society instantly surrounded him, looking at Qin Chen and the others with unkind expressions, obviously preparing to attack Qin Chen and the others. The actions of the Black Cult immediately attracted the attention of others, who watched nervously. Everyone knew that the Black Cult was about to make trouble, and they wanted to see what the Yin family siblings would do. Resist to the death or obediently hand over their storage rings and let the Black Cult search them. Qin Chen narrowed his eyes and said, "What does this have to do with us? We didn't pick any spiritual herbs here. Why should you even check our storage rings?" Ha ha ha. The members of the Black Cult suddenly burst into laughter. They had already decided to target Qin Chen and the others, so they had no scruples. They sneered. Why? Because we are members of the Black Cult. Besides, you two came to this valley. Who knows if they transferred any spiritual herbs into your storage rings just now? If you know what's good for you, hand over your storage rings for us to check, and save us the trouble. Their eyes were cold, and their bodies radiated killing intent. The Black Cult members also knew that the other martial artists were not acting because they were watching the situation develop. Therefore, regardless of whether Qin Chen and the Yin family siblings were related, they could not let them leave. What they needed to do now was to kill the chicken to scare the monkeys, so that all the martial artists present would understand that only by handing over their storage rings could they leave. Otherwise, they would die. And Qin Chen and the Yin family siblings were the chickens they were going to kill to scare the monkeys. I'm afraid that whether we take out all the items or not, you will say that there are still items that haven't been taken out, and then kill us, Qin Chen sneered disdainfully. He had already seen through their tricks. They were not really asking for items, but were clearly trying to kill the chicken to scare the monkeys, looking for an opportunity to kill the Yin family siblings and the others. The so-called checking of storage rings was just their excuse. Stop talking nonsense and hand over the rings. A 5th rank late-stage peak martial grandmaster sneered, his face gloomy. If there weren't nearly 100 martial artists here, and they needed to find an excuse to kill, Qin Chen would have already been killed by him with a single strike for talking to him like that in another place. Impudence. Hainyu's face darkened. This guy dared to speak to young Master Chen like that. Enraged, he was just about to make a move. You guys, how are you talking? Just then, the strongest half-step martial venerable of the Black Cult suddenly walked up and reprimanded several Black Cult martial artists. Then, he cupped his fist towards Qin Chen and the others and said, "Greetings, everyone. I am the manager of the Black Cult. Please don't misunderstand. The Black Cult is very particular about rules. Since our Black Cult members discovered this Medicine Valley first, then you only need to hand over your storage rings and let us check them. Rest assured, we will only take away what belongs to us and will never touch anything else in your storage rings." This person spoke with great sincerity. It wasn't that he really wanted to let Qin Chen and the others go, but earlier he had been secretly observing from the side, trying to find out Hainyu's cultivation level, but he couldn't detect anything at all, which made him secretly vigilant. Especially the aura on Hainyu's body made him faintly feel a trace of fear, which was why he made such a decision. Compared to killing Qin Chen and the others, their main goal was to plunder the spiritual herbs from these people present, not to kill a few people and show off the power. What if I say no? Hainyu sneered. With just these few guys, they wanted to check his and young Master Chen's storage rings. When young Master Chen hadn't broken through, he completely ignored the Black Cult. Now that he had broken through to Martial Venerable, he was naturally even more disdainful. Is Your Excellency determined to be an enemy of my Black Cult? The half-step martial venerable's face darkened. He had given the other party a way out, but the other party didn't want it. Did he really think that he wouldn't dare to kill him? Be an enemy. Hein Yu sneered. Being an enemy doesn't count. Actually, I am also a member of your black cult. However, wanting me to hand over my storage ring is wishful thinking. Several black cult martial artists were stunned. The half-step martial venerable also asked in astonishment, "You are also a member of my black cult?" That's right. As soon as Hein Yu's voice fell, he directly took out the silver token from his body. You'll know when you see it. Silver member. Several black cult martial artists were all stunned, and then they all burst into laughter, as if they had seen something funny. Among them, the 5th rank late stage peak martial grandmaster, who had almost made a move earlier, sneered even more. I thought who your excellency was. It turns out you are just a silver member. Doesn't your excellency know that in my black cult, only gold VIPs are considered our own people acknowledged by the black cult? Seeing the silver token in Hein Yu's hand, the half-step martial venerable, who had been holding his breath, instantly relaxed. He knew that the black cult had clear ranks, and what kind of person took what kind of token, all of which had rules. Since Hein Yu had their black cult's silver token, it meant that Hein Yu, at most, was just a 5th rank late-stage martial grandmaster. It seemed that he was just better at concealing his aura, which made him think that the other party would be some big shot. Sneering in his heart, the half-step martial venerable completely relaxed. Hein Yu didn't know that his taking out the black cult's token not only didn't ease the other party's attitude towards him, but instead made him even more disdainful of him. Hand over your storage rings, and you won't be killed. Otherwise, regardless of whether you are a silver member of my black cult or not, you will be killed without mercy. With a cold shout, the 5th rank late stage peak martial grandmaster directly drew out the battle blade from his waist, took 2 steps forward, and pointed at Qin Chen and the other 3 fiercely. It could be seen that as long as Qin Chen and the others said no, the other party would definitely attack immediately and kill them. Young Master Chen. The Yin family siblings immediately looked over nervously. Hein Yu, what are you waiting for? The other party is about to attack. Don't tell me you still want this young master to take action. Qin Chen frowned and shouted coldly. Okay, you want the storage ring, I'll give it to you. Hein Yu's expression sank. After saying these 2 words, he directly slapped out with his palm. How could this 5th rank late stage peak martial grandmaster have imagined that Hein Yu would dare to attack him, and that he would attack without hesitation? The sneer on his face hadn't even completely disappeared when a huge black palm covered him. You. He widened his eyes in horror, hurriedly trying to say something, but before he could even say half a sentence, with a bang, his whole body had been torn apart under Hein Yu's attack, and instantly exploded. Whoosh! Blood splattered everywhere, and a strong bloody killing intent immediately permeated the valley. Hein Yu, however, was expressionless, and immediately collected the other party's storage ring, respectfully handing it to Qin Chen. The sudden attack by the black slave stunned all the warriors present. Where had they ever seen such a ferocious warrior? Daring to kill members of the black cult of Black Marsh City, and without a single word, killing as they pleased. Was this person not afraid of death? The Yin family siblings were also completely stunned. Although they had guessed that Qin Chen would not let things go easily, they never expected that the black slave would directly attack, using an almost sneak attack to directly kill an expert of the black cult. You dare to sneak attack and kill Gao Heng. You're courting death. Dare to kill someone from my black cult, even if you escape to the ends of the earth, my black cult will definitely kill you. The remaining black cult warriors were even more shocked and enraged. The smiles that had appeared on their faces instantly froze, and they could no longer restrain themselves, surging forward violently. HMPH, since you want to die, this seat will grant your wish. The black slave's eyes turned cold, and his body seethed with killing intent. After following Qin Chen, his temper had improved a lot. He used to be the notorious bloodworm demon of the Great Wei dynasty. What did killing a few people matter to him? With a wave of his hand, astonishing true essence swept out, instantly blasting 2 more people into a bloody mist. The other warriors, under the immense force, coughed up blood and flew backward, crashing heavily into the valley, their bones broken. In a short moment, the black cult warriors were either dead or injured, in a miserable state. You die. The half-step martial venerable was filled with shock and rage. He never expected that in a moment of carelessness, 3 of his subordinates would die, and the remaining warriors would also be injured. How could there be such a ruthless fellow, daring to kill members of his black cult so savagely? In his fury, he roared and a black war blade appeared in his hand, instantly slashing out. The black war blade tore through the void, instantly unleashing a monstrous killing intent, forming a destructive force that swept out. Before this destructive force was fully unleashed, the grass in the surrounding valley had already turned to dust, unable to withstand the destructive power and instantly annihilated. The Yin family siblings quickly retreated, as this terrifying killing aura, even without being directly attacked, could cause one to be invaded by the killing intent, leading to mental damage at best, and complete annihilation at worst. However, their retreat was too slow, and they immediately felt an aura of death constantly enveloping them. The numerous onlookers in the distance were even more terrified, their hearts pounding. Earlier, some people thought that if it weren't for the black cult's reputation, even a half-step martial venerable would not be able to stop so many martial grandmaster warriors. But now, they knew that their thoughts were wrong. This person was not only a half-step martial venerable, but even a half-step martial venerable about to completely step into the martial venerable realm. When this terrifying destructive aura swept out, how could other martial grandmaster warriors have any power to resist? They would be instantly annihilated into ashes. Before this destructive aura could fully spread, the half-step martial venerable's destructive energy had completely enveloped Qin Chen and his group. All 4 of you, die. He roared angrily, his entire body's true essence completely erupting, clearly intending to kill Qin Chen and his group completely in one move. It's over. These guys are too naive. They actually dared to challenge the black cult. That cloaked man's strength should not be weak either, probably close to the cultivation of a half-step martial venerable. It's a pity that he encountered the top half-step martial venerable of the black cult. Such an expert would kill him like killing a dog. Everyone sighed, equally frightened, because they knew that after Qin Chen and his group were killed, it would be their turn. At that time, they would all have to obediently hand over their storage rings. Before, they might have had some thoughts of resistance, but at this moment, those thoughts completely vanished. They even planned to hand over their storage rings as soon as Qin Chen and his group died, even if it meant giving up everything. They had to leave this medicine valley as soon as possible. Otherwise, they were afraid that they would not be able to walk out alive. The overwhelming saber energy, carrying the power of destruction, completely enveloped Qin Chen and his group. It's over. The Yin family siblings revealed despair. If they had known this would happen, they should have handed over their storage rings earlier, so as not to implicate Qin Chen and his group. But now, it was too late. In the despair of death, the 2 looked at Qin Chen and the black slave with guilt. What shocked them was that there was no trace of fear on Qin Chen and the black slave's faces. There was even a hint of faint mockery at the corners of their mouths. Yes, it was mockery. How could they know that the attack released by this half-step martial venerable, although powerful, if an ordinary warrior were to face it, let alone resist, it would be good enough to leave a complete corpse. But in Qin Chen and the black slave's eyes, such an attack was too weak. Compared to Lu Zhe, the vice president of the Valley Wind Chamber of Commerce, it was far inferior. You want to kill this seat with such an attack? Ridiculous. With a cold snort, the black slave was too lazy to waste words. The martial venerable cultivation within his body was no longer concealed, and he released it violently. In an instant, an astonishing true essence swept out. Boom! 2 terrifying forces collided in the void, instantly erupting with unprecedented astonishing roars. The black slave did nothing, just naturally released his aura, and instantly crushed the saber energy that the other party had slashed out. You are a 6th order martial venerable senior. The sneer on the half-step martial venerable's face instantly froze, and then he revealed an unprecedented look of horror. He had actually offended a 6th order martial venerable senior, this. The black slave snorted coldly, too lazy to waste words with the other party. With a lift of his hand, the heavenly demon banner instantly appeared in the air. With a whoosh, The black heavenly demon banner rose against the wind, instantly covering the sky and the earth, enveloping the half-step martial venerable within it. No, senior, spare me, senior, spare me. I am a steward of the black cult, senior, if you kill me, the black cult will definitely not. The half-step martial venerable let out a miserable scream in the heavenly demon banner, begging for mercy in horror. You still dare to threaten me at this time? The black slave's eyes were cold, and with a grip of his hand, with a puff, the scream stopped abruptly. The half-step martial venerable had already been completely refined by the heavenly demon banner, and nothing was left. In the distance, the other injured black cult warriors trembled, all looking at this place in horror. Then, with swish, 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 one by one, they turned around and were about to rush out of the Medicine Valley. Just kidding, even their strongest half-step martial venerable master had been killed in one move, what were they staying for? But how could the black slave let them leave here? With a sneer, he waved his hand, and with a whoosh, the heavenly demon banner swept out again, instantly wrapping up several people. The screams flashed by, and several fifth-order late-stage martial grandmasters, who were considered experts in the eyes of the many warriors present, instantly turned to ashes, their souls scattered. Several storage rings swept over like shooting stars, and the black slave immediately collected them and respectfully offered them to Qin Chen. Silence. Deathly silence. At this moment, everyone was stunned, staring blankly at the scene, each one almost going crazy. Dead. Just like that. The few experts from the black cult, who had kept hundreds of martial artists stuck in the valley, not daring to move, died right before their eyes without even a chance to resist. This. Unbelievable. In the Medicine Valley, many martial artists stared blankly at Hainu and Qin Chen, their bodies trembling, a fear unlike any they had felt before arising in their hearts. Terrifying. Too terrifying. Such an expert could casually kill the black cult's people, and could also casually kill them, leaving them unable to resist. At this moment, everyone was as quiet as cicadas in winter, not daring to say a word, afraid of provoking Hainu's anger and being killed. Shay, senior, did you really kill the black cult's half-step martial venerable expert? The Yin family siblings also stared blankly at Hainu, still unable to believe it. They had seen Hainu take action before. In Black Marsh Square, although Hainu had defeated the bloodthirsty demon, it had been after a battle. But just now, Hainu had faced a half-step martial venerable from the black cult and had killed him with a single move. Even now, the two of them felt like they were in a dream. Hainu, however, breathed a sigh of relief, looking at Qin Chen with gratitude. If it weren't for Qin Chen, how could he be so powerful, easily killing the black cult's expert? He would have been the one killed. But now, he could kill a half-step martial venerable, who had originally been high above him, with a single move. Such a feeling could only be expressed with one word: satisfying. Young Master Chen, these are the storage rings of these fellows. Please inspect them, young Master Chen. Hainu respectfully presented the storage rings to Qin Chen, his posture causing everyone to look at Qin Chen with even greater fear. Such a great expert was actually just a follower of this young man. Qin Chen nodded, casually taking the storage rings. Young Master Chen, what should we do with these fellows here? Hainu glanced at the many martial artists in the Medicine Valley and asked in a deep voice, a hint of killing intent flashing in his eyes. The black cult's power was still somewhat terrifying. Since these fellows had seen him kill the black cult's people, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, he might as well go all the way and kill them all. Senior, please don't kill us. We are willing to hand over the spiritual herbs we harvested earlier, and we will never reveal what happened here. I swear. A martial artist, terrified, hurriedly stepped forward and said, respectfully handing over his storage ring to Qin Chen, his whole body trembling. With his actions, the other martial artists also woke up, hurriedly handing over their storage rings in fear. Senior, we are also willing to hand over the spiritual herbs we collected earlier. Senior, we guarantee that we won't reveal what happened here. You must believe us. In an instant, nearly 100 martial artists in the field were terrified, looking at Hainu and Qin Chen in fear, afraid that the two would attack, desperately trying to hand over their storage rings, even afraid that Qin Chen would not accept them. Qin Chen looked at Hainu speechlessly, as if to say, "Look at the mess you've made." He said in a deep voice, "Everyone, put away your storage rings. This young master is not a bandit like the Black Cult, nor will I innocently seize your storage rings. You can all rest assured. No, 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 Senior. This is our tribute to you. Senior killed the Black Cult's people earlier, seeking justice for us. We are willing to give it. Yes, we are willing to hand over the spiritual herbs to Senior. Please, Senior, you must accept them." When these people saw that Qin Chen actually refused to accept their storage rings, they were scared out of their wits. Not accepting their things, that meant he was going to kill them to silence them. "Yin Feng, you and I can be considered acquaintances. Why not say a few good words to the two seniors for me?" Some people even pinned their hopes on Yin Feng and Yin Hong, like drowning people grabbing at the last straw, seeking help everywhere. The Yin family siblings were extremely speechless, but they knew very well that Qin Chen was definitely not that kind of person. Just as they were about to speak, Qin Chen waved his hand, stopping them from speaking, and then said loudly to the hundreds of martial artists in the field, "Everyone, I have already said before that I am not the kind of person who kills and loots, so please don't worry about your safety. However, I am an alchemist. I believe you have all obtained many high-grade spiritual herbs here, so if there are any martial artists who want to exchange for pills, come to me. I will take out some pills and exchange them with you. If anyone doesn't want to exchange, you can leave directly, and I will definitely not stop you." Although Qin Chen said this, none of these people dared to leave. They looked at each other, not daring to move. They were all afraid that if they really left, they would be instantly killed by Hainu, and they would have no place to cry. Seeing the scene in the field, Qin Chen was once again speechless, but he didn't say anything. Let these people think what they want. He directly took out bottles of pills from his body. These pills were all the most suitable for 5th-level martial ancestor to cultivate with. Qin Chen believed that as long as these fellows knew what the pills were, they would definitely not refuse. "Now, anyone who wants to exchange pills can come up." As soon as Qin Chen's voice fell, the martial artist who had spoken first hesitated for a moment before rushing up. "Senior, I am willing to exchange for pills." As soon as the martial artist came up, he said anxiously. At the same time, he instantly poured out all the spiritual herbs on his body, totaling dozens of them, with varying grades. Some of them were not even found in this medicine valley, but in the Black Death Marsh. As soon as Qin Chen saw them, his face revealed joy. As expected, there was gold thread grass and heavenly jade star, as well as winged god flower and other rare medicinal materials. Each one was extremely precious, and could be called a rare spiritual medicine in the outside world. "Good. What kind of pills do you want?" Qin Chen nodded, suppressing his excitement and said, "I want this bottle." That fellow didn't even look, directly grabbed the bottle of pills on the very edge, and then looked at Qin Chen nervously, and said, "Senior, can I leave?" Qin Chen looked at the other party somewhat speechlessly. "The spiritual herbs you took out are of extremely high value, more than just this bottle of pills. You can take 2 more bottles." "No, no, no. This bottle is enough for me." When that person saw that Qin Chen was still letting him take pills, his face changed instantly, shaking his head like a rattle. In his opinion, Qin Chen's reason for exchanging pills for spiritual herbs was just an excuse. The many pills that Qin Chen took out were probably just some 1st and 2nd grade pills. It was just that this guy didn't want to lose face, so he deliberately took them out to exchange. If he was really ignorant and went to see what kind of pills were in the bottle, and even wanted to take 2 more bottles, he would definitely be courting death. So he made up his mind to only take 1 bottle, take it and leave, and not care what he took. The most important thing was to be able to leave here. Seeing that the other party was like this, Qin Chen was also quite speechless, and had to say, "Since you have decided, then okay, you can leave." "Thank you, Senior." When that person heard this, a look of joy appeared on his face, his figure swayed, and he instantly rushed out of the medicine valley without looking back, disappearing in the blink of an eye. "Anyone else want to exchange?" Qin Chen said loudly, after collecting the pile of spiritual herbs on the ground. Seeing that Qin Chen actually let that person leave the Medicine Valley, the warriors in the arena were all in an uproar. Regardless of whether Qin Chen was sincerely letting them leave, or whether he would come after them later, at least for now, he was indeed letting them leave this forbidden valley. Senior, I want to exchange. I also want to exchange. Let me go first. I was clearly in front. For a time, the remaining warriors in the arena went crazy, all rushing up, even fighting for the foremost position. Nonsense. The first people to exchange would definitely be the first to leave here, and even if Qin Chen wanted to go back on his word and hunt him down, the first to leave would be able to escape the furthest and have the best chance of surviving. Therefore, the previously apprehensive crowd, after discovering that they could really leave after exchanging elixirs, immediately went crazy, all wanting to be the next person to exchange. How could Qin Chen know what these people were thinking? Seeing everyone so enthusiastic, he couldn't help but be a little stunned, but still shouted loudly, "Come one by one, this young master has a lot of elixirs on him. As long as everyone is willing to exchange, everyone can exchange for an elixir suitable for them." It would have been better if Qin Chen hadn't said these words, but as soon as he said them, everyone was even more certain of their thoughts. This guy is just a teenager. Even if his background is great, how many elixirs can he have on him? The spiritual herbs they collected in this Medicine Valley are all rare 5th and 6th order spiritual herbs, which can definitely be exchanged for a lot of rare elixirs outside. No matter how many elixirs this kid has on him, can he have so many rare elixirs? Therefore, as soon as these words came out, everyone was even more certain that Qin Chen just wanted to use some low-level elixirs to exchange for the spiritual herbs on him, essentially the same as the Black Cult, only doing it more decently. So the remaining other warriors, like the first person to exchange, directly took out all the spiritual herbs on their bodies, and then casually picked up a medicine bottle, without even looking at it, and left here directly. A large number of spiritual herbs were continuously collected into Qin Chen's storage ring. After about an incense stick of time, a large portion of the people had already exchanged for elixirs. At this time, the first warrior who rushed out of the restriction, after leaving the restriction, frantically flew outwards at the first moment, flying for hundreds of miles before stopping. Huh. This guy really didn't chase after me. I escaped. The warrior looked back in surprise, and after discovering that no one was indeed following him, a feeling of surviving a disaster surged in his heart. He didn't expect that Qin Chen would actually let him out. Although the spiritual herbs on his body had all been handed over, the other party even dared to kill the Black Cult's half-step martial venerable steward. He was already grateful to have escaped. Right. I don't even know what kind of elixir that guy took out. Suddenly thinking of something, the warrior quickly took out the bottle of elixir he had exchanged for. His movements were casually opening the medicine bottle. In his opinion, Qin Chen's so-called exchange of elixirs was just an excuse to search, what good things could he give? The elixirs in this medicine bottle, without guessing, should only be some of the most trashy 1st and 2nd grade elixirs, things that are of no use at all. But when he casually poured out a few pills from the medicine bottle, his whole person was suddenly stunned. This person's face was flushed, his eyes were full of disbelief, and even his body was trembling, obviously not daring to believe what he was seeing. A breakthrough pill, it's actually a 5th grade breakthrough pill. He murmured, his eyes filled with unprecedented shock and excitement. Although he himself was not a great alchemist, as a 5th order martial sect, he was extremely knowledgeable about the 5th grade elixirs he needed most. If the elixir in his hand wasn't a breakthrough pill, what else could it be? This was a 5th grade elixir. And it was also one of the most top grade among 5th grade elixirs, one of the most precious elixirs for a 5th order martial sect to break through. With these few breakthrough pills, not to mention anything else, it could definitely increase his strength by a fold. I misunderstood that, young master. Only then did this person understand that if Qin Chen wanted to harm them, there was no need to take out the breakthrough pill at all, he could just take out some elixirs casually. It could be seen that Qin Chen had no intention of robbing them of their spiritual herbs at all, and was simply doing a normal transaction. He even felt that he had taken advantage of them before, wanting them to take more elixirs, but he was an idiot, thinking that the other party was trying to trick him, and couldn't wait to leave the Medicine Valley. Thinking of this, his heart was filled with endless regret. However, he was very clear that although just from the perspective of value, the dozens of spiritual herbs he took out were indeed not weaker than the few breakthrough pills in his hand. But if he were to choose again, he would definitely still use all the spiritual herbs to exchange for these few breakthrough pills. Although the spiritual herbs he took out before were precious, if they remained in his hands, they could only be sold cheaply to the few major forces in Black Marsh City, but breakthrough pills were not something he could buy if he wanted to. How could I easily give up such a rare opportunity? No, I have to go back. Thinking of this, the warrior didn't even think about it, turned around and flew back to the Medicine Valley he had previously fled from in a hurry. Although he no longer had any spiritual herbs on him, he still had some other materials and good things, thinking about whether he could exchange for some more elixirs. Even if he could exchange for one more breakthrough pill, it would be a profit for him. It wasn't just him alone. Many of the warriors who left the Forbidden Medicine Valley the earliest, after flying out to what they thought was a safe distance, also took out the elixirs they had exchanged for, and immediately, like this warrior, they were all stunned. Breakthrough pill, ascension pill, transformation pill, Haoyun pill. Which one wasn't the most needed rare elixir for these fifth-order martial sects? They were all elixirs that couldn't be bought even with money. At the same time, they also understood that Qin Chen really wanted to exchange elixirs. How could they be willing to give up such an opportunity? After hesitating for a moment, they all rushed back. While these people were rushing back, Qin Chen had already stopped the acquisition. Almost 80% of the warriors in the entire valley had exchanged with him. The remaining dozen or so warriors still suspected that Qin Chen was deceiving them, so they all looked at Qin Chen warily and had no intention of coming forward to exchange. All right, that's about it. To this, Qin Chen didn't care. He was the kind of person who disliked forcing others the most. Since others were unwilling to exchange, he wouldn't force them either. Moreover, the fifth-grade elixirs on him were almost all exchanged. Of course, the most important thing was that after the previous acquisition, Qin Chen had already received 2,000 or 3,000 spiritual herbs. Combined with the many high-level spiritual herbs snatched from Lu Zhe, the spiritual herbs on him had reached an extremely astonishing number, completely enough for his next cultivation, and he no longer needed to acquire them. Let's go. After collecting everything, Qin Chen ignored the expressions of the dozen or so people and quickly left the Forbidden Medicine Valley with the Yin family siblings. Seeing Qin Chen's departing figure, the remaining dozen or so warriors, who were glaring and gathering the true power, were all stunned. What's going on? Could it be that the other party doesn't want to kill them? How is that possible? Just as they were suspicious. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. From outside the Medicine Valley, figures suddenly rushed in. Where are those two seniors? Where did they go? Seeing the empty Medicine Valley, with only a dozen or so people left, the warriors who came in were all stunned. And as more and more warriors returned, everyone's face was filled with sighs. What a pity, we're late. A group of people sighed. They all knew that since Qin Chen and He Nu were not here, they must have left. Alas, if they had known this, why would they have left so eagerly? Each of them was extremely depressed. However, the depression, in the eyes of the dozen or so warriors, seemed extremely strange. Why are you back? Their expressions were blank, and they couldn't help but ask. We naturally want to exchange some more pills with those two seniors. Yes, these two seniors are really righteous. They have enough strength to take away the things on us, but they are so kind and insist on exchanging them for pills. Now that they've left so early, it's really a loss for us. I hope they will come back. Seeing that he wants to collect high-level spiritual herbs so much, it must be of great use. I have to pick more high-level spiritual herbs, so that I will have a chance to exchange with the two seniors again. That's right. I think everyone doesn't need to be too greedy. The pills we got before are enough to improve our strength. Sometimes, losing some may not be a bad thing. That's right. The two seniors killed people from the Black Cultivation Society here. It won't be long before experts from the Black Cultivation Society arrive. Let's leave quickly. From the conversation of these people, the remaining dozen or so warriors finally understood the reason. These guys actually came back to trade with Qin Chen and the others again. Moreover, the reason why they came back so hurriedly was entirely because the pills that Qin Chen took out to trade with them were all top-notch pills that were extremely rare to 5th-level martial sects, and even rare pills that could not be bought outside. The dozen or so warriors who had previously suspected Qin Chen and had not traded with Qin Chen at all were all dumbfounded after learning about this situation. Each of them felt bitter in their hearts, and even regretted it so much that their intestines turned green. Because they suspected Qin Chen, they didn't trade with him at all. As a result, they didn't get a single one of those heaven-defying pills that could improve their strength. Especially after knowing that the pills Qin Chen traded were all abnormal pills such as breaking sect pills, each of them was about to go crazy. These are good things. Even if they took out all the spiritual herbs on their bodies and only exchanged for one, they would agree. Some of them even wanted to exchange with other warriors who had traded on the spot, using the spiritual herbs on their bodies to exchange for the pills they had obtained before, even if it was only one or two. TCH, who would be stupid enough to exchange with you? This is a breaking sect pill, a good thing that you may not be able to buy even if you search the entire Bian prefecture. Even if you give me a pile of spiritual herbs, what's the use? After learning that the last dozen or so people who stayed behind had not traded with Qin Chen, the warriors who had traded before immediately sneered. Let you suspect. Now it's good. A pile of spiritual herbs are rotting in your hands. Even if you go to Black Marsh City, what's the use of exchanging them for some true stones? Can you exchange them for rare pills like the breaking sect pill? Moreover, after this underground relic is opened, almost everyone can get some high-level spiritual herbs. It can be said that the price of high-level spiritual herbs in Black Marsh City will definitely drop by more than half in a very short period of time. Only an idiot would exchange finished pills with them. After a burst of ridicule, these people, fearing that they would be targeted, left the Forbidden Medicine Valley one after another, leaving only the dozen or so warriors who had not traded at all, crying without tears. At this time, in a valley hundreds of miles away from the Forbidden Medicine Valley, Qin Chen and the Yin family siblings stopped. Where are you two going next? Qin Chen asked, looking at the Yin family siblings after confirming that the surroundings were safe. Young Master Chen, we have decided to leave here immediately and leave directly from the outer periphery of the Black Death Marsh. Yin Feng made up his mind. Not only have they offended the Gufeng Chamber of Commerce, but they have also offended the Black Cultivation Society. It can be said that the entire Black Marsh City has no place for them to stand. Once the news here spreads, they will not have a chance to survive under the pursuit of the Black Cultivation Society. Okay. Qin Chen nodded, knowing what the two were thinking. Since that's the case, then goodbye for now. Everyone has their own destiny. In this dangerous Black Death Marsh, he can't keep traveling with the two of them. By the way, young Master Chen, we heard people say before that an relic center has appeared thousands of miles south of this underground relic. Now, experts from all major forces in Black Marsh City have gone there. Even experts from the Great Zhou dynasty and the Great Xia dynasty have arrived there. If you are going to the depths of this underground relic, be careful. Yin Feng reminded. Relic Center. Qin Chen's eyes lit up, and then he nodded and said, "Thank you for the reminder, we know. Then we'll take our leave, goodbye for now." Yin Feng was very decisive. After cupping his hands to Qin Chen and the others, he immediately took his sister Yin Hong and flew away from the underground relic, apparently not caring how many treasures were still in the underground relic, and not wanting to wade into this muddy water. Qin Chen nodded. Such a person is content. Although he may not necessarily have particularly amazing achievements in the future, walking step by step will always reach a height that other ordinary warriors cannot reach. Let's go. Let's go to that relic center and see what kind of place this is. Qin Chen smiled faintly, and flew towards the relic center that Yin Feng said with Hey Nu. How fast were the two of them? After an hour, they had already arrived near the so-called relic center. After seeing the scene in front of them, Qin Chen and Hey Nu both took a breath of cold air. In this so-called relic center, there were already many warriors, from martial sects to martial artists, and more warriors were coming here. It was certain that as long as another day passed, the number of warriors here would break through 1,000. I'm afraid that most of the warriors in this underground relic have arrived here, right? Qin Chen stared blankly at the thousands of warriors in front of him. This was the first time he had seen so many warriors since he came to the Black Death Marsh. The warriors in front of them seemed to be vaguely divided into 3 forces, and they were clearly separated. At the forefront of this group of warriors was a ruin. In the Black Death Marsh, there were swamps everywhere. The sudden appearance of this dry wilderness ruin would naturally attract everyone's attention. At this time, in this ruin, a group of warriors with extraordinary auras were searching for something. It seemed that they had not found anything of value yet. It seems that the ruins over there should be the so-called center of the ruins. Let's go and take a look. Qin Chen and the black slave were both skilled and bold, and walked directly towards the ruins ahead. There were many warriors on the field, and warriors were joining at every moment. In theory, the arrival of Qin Chen and the others should not have attracted much attention. However, after Qin Chen and He Niu joined, they went straight to the ruins, which immediately attracted the attention of everyone. What are the origins of these 2 guys? They dare to go directly to the center of the ruins. Are they looking for death? Could it be that they saw the center of the ruins and were so overwhelmed that they wanted to compete for treasures? HMPH. Let's just wait and see a good show. Many warriors standing outside the ruins sneered when they saw this scene. Especially after seeing that Qin Chen was so young, they immediately thought that Qin Chen was a disciple of some family, who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, and wanted to get a share of the pie when he saw the center of the ruins. I know these 2 people. The cloaked man defeated the bloodthirsty demon man at Black Marsh Square before. If Vice President Lu Zhe of the Gufeng Chamber of Commerce hadn't stopped him, I'm afraid the bloodthirsty demon man would have been killed by him. What? Are you saying that this cloaked man can kill the bloodthirsty demon man? Someone said in surprise. The bloodthirsty demon man was quite famous in Black Marsh City and was considered a leader among the late-stage peak martial lords of the 5th rank. Therefore, hearing that He Niu had defeated the bloodthirsty demon man, some warriors were immediately surprised. Not only did he defeat the bloodthirsty demon man, but I also know these 2 guys. When they were teleported into the Black Death Marsh, they killed a yin soul beast. There were also 2 warriors present who had been teleported in with Qin Chen and the others, and immediately said in a deep voice. What? They can kill yin soul beasts? Are you out of your mind? What are you talking about? Yin soul beasts are invisible and formless. Even a martial venerable of the 6th rank may not be able to easily discover them. They can kill yin soul beasts. If He Niu's defeat of the bloodthirsty demon man only caused some ripples in the crowd, then their killing of the yin soul beast was like dropping a blockbuster directly into the crowd. The yin soul beast has always been one of the most terrifying blood beasts in the Black Death Marsh. Martial lords who encounter it are almost certain to die. Even martial venerable experts will feel a headache, but He Niu was able to kill the yin soul beast. How could they not be shocked? Amidst the surrounding discussions, Qin Chen and He Niu had already arrived at the edge of the ruins. At this time, he also saw that outside the ruins, a formless natural isolation zone seemed to have formed. Almost more than 90% of the thousands of warriors were standing outside the isolation zone of the ruins, and only a small number of warriors had entered the ruins. Qin Chen's brows moved, just as he was about to enter the ruins. Who is it? Get back here. Suddenly, an angry shout rang out, and with a bang, an evil saber light flew out from the ruins, slashing directly at Qin Chen and He Niu. The saber light was fierce and carried a suffocating killing intent, obviously wanting to cut Qin Chen and He Niu in 2 with one slash. It's an expert from the Earth Demon sect. I knew these 2 guys were looking for death. The Earth Demon sect of the Great Zhou dynasty is cruel and unscrupulous. It would be strange if they didn't take action when they saw others breaking in. Too reckless. The crowd had been paying attention to this place. Seeing someone take action, sighs immediately came out. In addition to that, some people had mocking sneers on their faces. Looking for death. After He Niu broke through to Martial Venerable, when had he ever been underestimated like this? The ice-cold spear instantly appeared in his hand. With a light flick, a shadow of the ice-cold spear swept across, instantly shattering the saber light into powder. At the same time, the spear shadow swept across, and Hainu thrust out with the spear. Poof! A spear glow with a chilling aura pierced through the void and instantly plunged into the place where the saber light attacked from. Boom! The ruins exploded at once, and a warrior holding a war saber flew out instantly, spitting out blood. His left shoulder was pierced with a bright wound, and a layer of fine ice spread over the wound. The whole person fell to the ground in a mess, with a look of horror on his face. It's a pity, it deviated a little and failed to pierce this guy's heart. Hainu shook his head. His spear directly attacked the place where the saber light came from, but the man was hiding behind the ruins, so he only pierced his right arm. Otherwise, the other party would be dead without a doubt. Bold! How dare you attack the people of the Earth Demon sect of my great Zhou dynasty? Are you looking for death? Angry shouts rang out, and with a whoosh, several figures swept out from the ruins. These people were all peak martial lords of the 5th rank. Among them, 2 had even reached the half-step martial venerable realm, and their astonishing aura swept in like a raging wave. Your people attacked us first. I think you are the ones looking for death, right? With you guys, I can kill you all in an instant. Hainu's eyes narrowed, containing anger. The highest cultivation level of these people was only half-step martial venerable, but they were so arrogant. They really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. However, he was not a reckless person. So many warriors were gathered here, and there must be experts present, so he did not act rashly. What's more, these people were warriors of the Earth Demon sect of the Great Zhou dynasty. If it were in a sparsely populated place, he would have killed 2 half-step martial venerables who dared to clamor at him long ago. What a big tone! Does your excellency think you are invincible? Suddenly, a cold and harsh voice rang out, and with a swish, a black shadow suddenly swept out from the ruins and landed in front of the others, exuding a cold light all over his body. This person had a strong aura. Just standing there was like a mountain pressing down, giving people a strong sense of suffocation. A martial venerable expert. Hainu's eyes narrowed. The aura on the other party was like an abyss, obviously a 6th rank martial venerable expert, and not even an ordinary martial venerable. It was very likely that he, like him, had reached the peak of the early 6th rank, stronger than Lu Zhe. But Hainu didn't have the slightest fear, and sneered, "The one who thinks he is invincible is you, right? This place is the Black Death Marsh. Why are your people stopping us? If you want to fight, I will fight you." After breaking through, Hainu had not had a good fight yet. At this moment, his fighting spirit was erupting, and he was about to attack the enemy. Hainu, don't be impulsive. Just then, Qin Chen suddenly spoke. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Only to see that in the ruins, a series of figures suddenly appeared. These figures were strong and weak, but the aura on each person was extremely terrifying. Among them, there were no less than 10 martial venerable experts. The aura of these people gathered into a monstrous aura, giving people a strong shock. So many martial venerable experts. Hainu's eyes suddenly shrank, revealing horror. A 6th level martial venerable was considered a top expert in the Great Wei dynasty. Each one was powerful enough to establish a strong force in any state of the Great Wei dynasty. Now, with no less than 10 martial venerable experts appearing at once, how could Hainu not be shocked? What shocked him even more was that the aura of some of these martial venerable experts far surpassed his own. At least mid-stage 6th level martial venerable experts. Hainu's eyes narrowed. So many experts were enough to crush Bian province, it was simply abnormal. His heart leaped, and he immediately felt that his previous action was too reckless. He himself was fine, but if it put young Master Chen in danger, that would be troublesome. Compared to Hainu's shock, Qin Chen's face was quite calm, and he even leisurely observed the many experts in the ruins. Among these experts, each person's aura was extremely different, and each martial venerable expert was followed by a group of martial sect level experts. The most striking were the strongest few martial venerables. With a slight sweep of his soul power, Qin Chen immediately saw that these people were clearly mid-stage peak 6th level martial venerables. That would have been fine, but the key was that these top martial venerables were all accompanied by several young people. Among them, 3 pairs were the most astonishing. One pair of young people, a man and a woman, the man in his early 20s, wearing a purple gold python dragon robe, with a refined temperament, like an abyss. At such a young age, he was already a late-stage 5th-level martial sect. And the woman beside him, only 15 or 16 years old, was already an early-stage 5th-level martial sect. A strong old man, one of the top existences among the dozen or so martial venerables present, stood respectfully beside the two, like a servant. Not far from this pair, there was also a young man with a gloomy face, also wearing a 5-clawed python robe, in his 20s, also a late-stage 5th-level martial sect, with an extremely cold aura, sneering as he stared at this side. In addition, there was a middle-aged woman with a cold expression. Beside her stood a aloof woman, about 19 years old, but her cultivation had already reached the late-stage 5th level, coldly staring at the ruins in front, seemingly indifferent to the commotion here. What amazing talent! Could these people be princes of the Great Wei dynasty? Qin Chen was secretly shocked. The most outstanding young people he had seen were the 3 great geniuses of Xuen province during the ancient southern capital competition, but even Dai Tianyi, Hua Tiandu, and Leng Wushuang were only at the half-step martial sect realm at the time, and they were far inferior to this pair of young people. What's going on? This old man needs quiet to break the formation. Didn't you understand? A cold voice came, and an old man with white hair and beard, standing in the middle of the many experts, spoke with a cold shout, his face showing displeasure. Everyone, these two don't know where they came from, and they directly charged into the center of the ruins. This person should be an expert from your Great Wei dynasty, right? Charging into the center of the ruins for no reason, shouldn't there be an explanation? Not only did they charge into the center of the ruins, but they also tried to kill the disciples of my Earth Demon sect. Are the warriors of your Great Wei dynasty so uneducated? Some of the experts shouted coldly, with sneers on their lips, looking towards one side of the ruins. Hein Yu stared intently, and was immediately stunned. He saw that there were also many experts standing there, and one of the young men was Mo Xiang from the beast-taming villa, whom they had taught a lesson at the gate of Black Marsh City. In addition, there were some people who exuded a powerful aura, and it was clear that they were experts from the major forces of Black Marsh City. Seeing Qin Chen and Hein Yu, Mo Xiang's face suddenly filled with anger, and he shouted angrily, "Father, it was this guy who bullied me at the gate of Black Marsh City before." Seeing Qin Chen, Mo Xiang was both excited and angry, and hurriedly said to Mo Xincheng beside him in shock and anger, "Oh, it's them." Mo Xincheng sneered, frowning as he looked over. "Villa Master, do you want your subordinates to teach them a lesson and avenge the young Villa Master?" Mo King said in a deep voice. Mo Xincheng nodded, and was about to speak when he suddenly saw the ice-cold spear in Hein Yu's hand, and his expression suddenly changed. "Hold on." He stared intently, and a look of solemnity immediately appeared in his eyes, muttering, "Isn't this spear the weapon of Lu Zhe from the Valley Wind Chamber of Commerce?" "What are you saying, Villa Master?" Mo King was stunned. Mo Xincheng's mind raced, his face solemn. He was also very familiar with Lu Zhe of the Valley Wind Chamber of Commerce. On the surface, he pretended to be benevolent, but in reality, he was ruthless and did all kinds of evil. And this ice-cold spear was Lu Zhe's most important treasure. Any warrior would probably protect such a weapon closely, but now, Lu Zhe's ice-cold spear had fallen into the hands of these two people. The meaning behind this made Mo Xincheng have to think deeply. While he was pondering, on the field, the young man with a refined temperament had already frowned and said, "Since we have already discussed this matter, as long as they are 6th-level martial venerables, they can join. Since there is a 6th-level martial venerable among these two, then naturally there is no need to stop them." HMPH. That's what you say, but how do you account for the fact that these two injured the disciples of my Earth Demon sect? The martial venerable expert from the Earth Demon sect shouted coldly, his eyes flashing with cold light. "Earlier, the disciples of your Earth Demon sect took the initiative to attack, and the other party was just fighting back. Moreover, the disciples of your Earth Demon sect did not die, so what's there to say?" The refined young man said indifferently. Qin Chen also understood at this time. Obviously, these people had already discussed this matter. This ruin only allowed 6th level martial venerable level experts to enter for searching, so after he and Hainu came in, they were blocked. In that case, are the disciples of my Earth Demon sect injured for nothing? The martial venerable expert from the Earth Demon sect said angrily. Impudent! How dare you speak to my great Xia ninth prince like that? The old man beside the refined young man said with a gloomy face. Ha ha ha. The Earth Demon sect expert laughed loudly, sneering, Your Excellency has great prestige. I am a warrior of the Great Zhou, so do I need to listen to the orders of your great Xia prince? Well said. The gloomy young man also wearing a python robe grinned, Xia Wushang, your great Xia dynasty is meddling too much, even wanting to control the warriors of my great Zhou dynasty. In that case, will this prince also be governed by the warriors of your great Xia in the future? Zhou Zun, you know what I mean. Since this person is a martial venerable expert, he naturally has the qualifications to participate in the search. On this point, it was your great Zhou dynasty's warrior who made a mistake. I am just acting according to the rules. The refined young man said indifferently. Acting according to the rules. Indeed. The gloomy young man nodded. Since this person is a 6th level martial venerable, he does have the qualifications to join the search. However, he acted recklessly before, colliding with Grandmaster Zhao Wei and disrupting Grandmaster Zhao Wei's formation breaking. How do you account for that? This person's spearhead was aimed at Qin Chen, clearly not wanting Qin Chen and the others to live. Seeing Qin Chen being targeted by the people of the Great Zhou dynasty, many warriors in the distant side. They originally thought that Qin Chen and the others would be rash in going up and would definitely be killed by the experts in the ruins, but they didn't expect that the cloaked man was actually a 6th level martial venerable, and almost killed a disciple of the Earth Demon sect. It was a pity that although this person was a 6th level martial venerable, he was too reckless. If he hadn't acted earlier, perhaps nothing would have happened. But now that he almost killed an expert from the Earth Demon sect, it had to be said that it was a wrong decision. The people of the Earth Demon sect had always been extremely arrogant. Hainu dared to touch the disciples, and there would be no good outcome. That's right. I was focusing on studying this formation just now. This guy's attack interrupted my train of thought. Although according to the rules, a 6th level martial venerable can enter, if just anyone can come in and disturb my formation breaking, when will I be able to break open these ruins? The old man named Zhao Wei had an unpleasant expression on his face and snorted coldly. Now that Master Zhao Wei has said so, what else do you all have to say? These two are people from your Great Wei dynasty. What do you, Great Wei dynasty, have to say? The Earth Demon sect's martial venerable snorted coldly and looked at Mo Xincheng and the others. On the Great Wei dynasty side, everyone looked at the experts from Mu Xincheng. This time, the Great Wei dynasty's royal family had not yet received the news and rushed over, so the highest status on the field was the Mu Xin Mansion's forces from Bianzhu City. Although the Black Cult, the Beast-Taming Villa, and the Heavenly Formation sect were strong, they had to give Mu Xin Mansion some face in this kind of official situation. The leader of the Mu Xin Mansion was a brown-haired old man who said coldly, although this person is a Great Wei dynasty warrior, since our 3 dynasties have already set the rules, we will naturally follow the rules. As long as you are within the rules, we will naturally not interfere. His words clearly meant that he didn't want to interfere in the matter here at all. Ha ha ha. Since Elder Mu Cheng has said so, my beast-taming villa will naturally not interfere either. Mo Xincheng also laughed. The Black Cult had heard of Qin Chen and Hainu's vice-chairman. He was also present at this time and said indifferently, this person has nothing to do with my Black Cult. My Black Cult is a rule-abiding organization and will not interfere. In his heart, he was sneering, no wonder these 2 guys didn't accept our Black Cult's invitation back then. It turned out that this person was actually a 6th level martial venerable. When he was in the Black Cult, he pretended to be only a 5th level late-stage martial grandmaster and killed the Anbei 2 demons. HMPH. Since you refused to accept my Black Cult's invitation, what does your life and death have to do with me? The warriors of the other Black Marsh City forces also said the same. 9th brother, since these 2 are warriors of the Great Wei dynasty, why don't the people of the Great Wei dynasty care about their lives and deaths? Just then, a childish voice rang out. It was the girl beside the ninth prince Qia Wushang, with a look of doubt on her face. As soon as these words came out, they immediately attracted discussion from the many warriors outside the ruins. The various forces of the Great Wei dynasty had always been extremely disharmonious. Even in the face of such foreign enemies, the major forces, for their own interests, did not offer to help. Instead, the people of the Great Qia dynasty helped to speak, which was really chilling and shameful. Everyone has heard it. Since the people of the Great Wei dynasty have not said anything, then I will handle things according to the rules. The Earth Demon sect's martial venerable laughed loudly, and walked towards Hainu and Qin Chen with a cold expression. Behind him, the other experts of the Earth Demon sect also walked over with sneers, their bodies filled with murderous intent. Qia Wushang, you don't want to take action, do you? The gloomy young man Zhou Zun sneered and took 2 steps forward, apparently to prevent Qia Wushang from acting. Qia Wushang sighed, but said nothing more. Since even the people of the Great Wei dynasty themselves said so, what could he, as a prince of the Great Qia dynasty, say? Zong Wuxin of the Earth Demon sect slowly came to Qin Chen and Hainu and said disdainfully, you two guys, without knowing the rules, broke into the center of the ruins and even wanted to kill my Earth Demon sect disciples. I, Zong Wuxin, am also a rule-abiding person. What do you think should be done? As he spoke about what to do, the aura on his body surged wildly, and a strong murderous intent, like a mountain, suppressed Qin Chen and Hainu. Ha ha ha. The several experts of the Earth Demon sect behind him also laughed loudly, their laughter wanton and arrogant, extremely proud. Especially the martial grandmaster whose shoulder was pierced by Hainu's spear, his murderous intent was even more intense, and his body exuded a cold light. Obviously, as long as Zong Wuxin gave an order, he would suddenly attack and kill Qin Chen and Hainu. Hainu's face was livid. If it were in another place, he would have stabbed with his spear long ago. But at this moment, being stared at by so many martial venerables, for Qin Chen's safety, Hainu could only lower his head and look at Qin Chen, and said in a low voice, young Master Chen. Qin Chen raised his hand to stop Hainu from speaking, and then looked at Zong Wuxin and said indifferently, Your Excellency, we didn't kill your Earth Demon sect disciples just now. Ha ha ha. Kid, are you begging for mercy? Zong Wuxin grinned, is it a little late to beg for mercy now? The other martial grandmasters of the Earth Demon sect also laughed loudly, their laughter wanton and arrogant, extremely proud. Seeing this scene, all the warriors of the Great Wei dynasty outside the field couldn't help but sigh, while Zhou Zun and others looked over with sinister smiles on their faces. Qin Chen shook his head and said, wrong, what I said was, I didn't kill your Earth Demon sect disciples just now, but now. Halfway through his words, Qin Chen's eyes suddenly turned cold, and the mysterious rusty sword in his hand suddenly appeared, piercing into the throat of the martial grandmaster who was still laughing wildly with a poochie sound. The expression on the martial grandmaster's face instantly froze, blood gushing out of his mouth, blood constantly spurting out, and despair and fear appeared in his eyes. Obviously, he didn't expect Qin Chen to dare to attack him at this time. He wanted to resist, but the strength of his whole body, along with the flow of blood, was constantly lost, his whole body became colder and colder, and his eyes completely turned ashen. Now I have killed your Earth Demon sect's disciple. Qin Chen pulled back the mysterious rusty sword and said with a sneer. What? At this moment, everyone on the field was stunned, each and every one of them dumbfounded, their hearts suffering an unprecedented impact. Arrogant. Too arrogant. Zong Wuxin said that Qin Chen wanted to kill their Earth Demon sect's disciples and came to make trouble. Everyone thought that Qin Chen would explain and make the big things smaller, but they never expected that Qin Chen would directly kill his Earth Demon sect's disciple on the spot without saying a word. Moreover, he also said that he didn't kill his Earth Demon sect's disciple before, and now he killed his Earth Demon sect's disciple. Such a tone was simply outrageously arrogant. Everyone never expected that Qin Chen would do such a thing. This was simply not taking the people of the Earth Demon sect seriously at all. You are very bold. Zong Wuxin also didn't react. By the time he came back to his senses, that disciple was already dead at Qin Chen's hands, and he was instantly shocked and furious. With a furious roar, a black magic wheel instantly appeared in Zong Wuxen's hand, transforming into a black streak of light that pounced towards Qin Chen. The bold one is you, seeking death. Seeing Qin Chen kill the Earth Demon sect disciple, Han Yu immediately understood Qin Chen's intentions. Steel himself, the icy spear in his hand swept out, blocking Qin Chen's path. Ka! 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 Zong Wuxen felt as if his black magic wheel had struck a piece of hard ice, as if he was imprisoned in the void, unable to move an inch. Good courage. No wonder you are so arrogant. So you have some skill. But you dared to kill my Earth Demon sect disciple. If I, Zong Wuxen, don't kill you today, I will have lived in vain. Die. Zong Wuxen roared furiously, the light on the black magic wheel in his hand intensified, and a strong killing intent burst forth. The domain of ice released by Han Yu's icy spear was shattered inch by inch, and a long gully was immediately cleaved out by the black magic wheel. In the next moment, Han Yu felt a strong killing intent surge into his mind. The brilliant black magic wheel, with unparalleled bloodlust, seemed to want to split him in two. You few, kill this kid. How dare you touch someone from my Earth Demon sect? No matter what the origins of this kid are, he must die. While attacking Han Yu, Zong Wuxen even remembered to order his subordinates to kill Qin Chen. Yes! A furious shout rang out. The two half-step martial venerables, along with three peak late-stage 5th-level martial lords, frantically charged towards Qin Chen, their eyes gleaming with cold light, clearly wanting to avenge the previously deceased martial lord and tear Qin Chen into pieces. Whoever dares to touch young Master Chen, must first ask this seat. Seeing this, Han Yu's face flashed with anger. Without any hesitation, he directly released the Heavenly Demon Banner. Whoosh! The huge Heavenly Demon Banner instantly transformed into a sky curtain, covering the heavens and the earth. The monstrous demonic aura swept out, instantly enveloping Zong Wuxen. What is this thing? Zong Wuxen was shocked. Under this monstrous demonic aura, the magic wheel in his hand instantly dimmed. In terms of demonic might, Han Yu instantly surpassed him, giving people a strong contrast. Boom! Within the black demonic aura, a terrifying demonic might cleaved towards Zong Wuxen, the black demonic aura bringing with it hundreds of feet of killing intent, seeming to shatter his magic wheel. Even under this endless demonic might, Zong Wuxen clearly felt that the circulation of true essence within his body had become somewhat stagnant. Zong Wuxen was, after all, a top expert of the Earth Demon sect in the Great Zhou dynasty, his cultivation even more terrifying than Lu Zai's. Feeling the frantic trembling of the demonic might within his body, how could he not know that this terrifying true treasure could suppress him? Subconsciously, he wanted to rush out of the attack range of the Heavenly Demon Banner, and then rush towards Qin Chen. His idea was very simple. The person in front of him wearing a cloak was clearly the young man's follower. As long as he controlled the young man, no matter how terrifying the strength of this cloaked person was, he would have to obediently listen to his orders. But before he could get close to Qin Chen, he heard several violent screams. He raised his head and was immediately horrified to see that the young man had somehow produced an ancient mirror in his hand. From within the mirror, beams of holy light continuously burst out, instantly blasting several of his peak late-stage 5th-level martial lord subordinates into pieces. Only the two half-step martial venerables could barely resist, but they were still heavily injured under this terrifying white light, blood overflowing from the corners of their mouths, able only to continuously resist. Zong Wuxen was greatly shocked. He never expected that Qin Chen would have such a terrifying treasure on him. A peak late-stage 5th-level martial lord could actually rely on this treasure to instantly kill several of his peak martial lord subordinates, and even force his two great half-step martial venerable subordinates to only be able to resist hastily. Puff! Again, a skyful of white light flashed past. The two half-step martial venerables, who were frantically resisting not far away, finally couldn't withstand the attack of the Li Kan holy mirror in Qin Chen's hand, screamed miserably, and turned into ashes. Zong Wuxen, who was resisting the Heavenly Demon Banner, had no ability to stop it. Seeing several of his Earth Demon sect experts being instantly killed by Qin Chen right before his eyes, Zong Wuxen only felt a surge of resentment erupting from the bottom of his heart, almost spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. But what shocked and angered him even more was what Qin Chen said next. Now, I have not only killed one disciple of your Earth Demon sect, but also killed all the others in your Earth Demon sect. What can you do? Holding the Li Kan holy mirror, Qin Chen looked at Zong Wuxin mockingly. Ah, you brat, I will kill you. Zong Wuxin roared madly, completely unable to restrain himself. With a boom, in his anger, the black magic wheel in his hand suddenly burst out with amazing demonic might, with lines of dazzling black runes appearing on it. When the runes lit up, there were even strange sounds that pierced the ears. The magic wheel erupted with unprecedented killing intent, stirring up a large area of demonic aura around it, and collided with Hainyu's heavenly demon banner. Bang! Gravel splashed, and the raging current swirled. Even the martial artists outside the ruins felt this killing intent and impact, and their expressions changed drastically, and they retreated one after another. Taking advantage of the moment when he blocked the heavenly demon banner, Zong Wuxin rushed towards Qin Chen. Kill me. Do you have the ability? You're just a piece of trash, yet you're yelling here. This young master killed your Earth Demon sect's disciples before, and now I'm going to kill you as well. What can you do? Qin Chen sneered. He was never a nice guy, and he knew that blindly enduring would only make people look down on him, and even be eaten until there were no bones left. Now that there were so many strong people here, only by being strong could he make others have some scruples and dare not attack him. The Li Kan holy mirror turned slightly, and Qin Chen circulated the 9-star God Emperor art. A dazzling white light, like a pillar of light, instantly blasted towards Zong Wuxin. Zong Wuxin was furious, and roared hideously, "Do you think you can hurt me with such an attack?" He couldn't bear it any longer, and spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, his body swelled crazily, and black light bloomed on his body. His whole person was like a demon, and the magic wheel in his hand roared out, stirring up a killing momentum of more than 10 feet around him, and the killing intent on his body was still rising. Visible to the naked eye, Zong Wuxin's face was already covered with layers of red lines, and his whole person was like a demon walking out of hell, extremely terrifying. Demon transformation great art. The strong men of the Great Zhou dynasty, who were still shocked, suddenly showed horrified expressions on their faces. The Earth Demon sect is a large sect in the Great Zhou dynasty closest to the Black Death Swamp. Although it is not the top sect in the Great Wei dynasty, it is not weak. And the most terrifying thing about the Earth Demon sect is this demon transformation great art, which can increase combat power by nearly doubled in a short period of time. This kid is finished. Among the warriors of the Great Zhou dynasty, a sneer was heard. With this move, no matter what abilities that kid and the cloaked man possessed, they would surely die. Especially that young man. Everyone could see that the reason Qin Chen was able to kill the several experts of the Earth Demon sect was entirely due to the ancient mirror in his hand. However, previously, that ancient mirror needed to expend some effort to even kill a half-step martial venerable of the Earth Demon sect. Now, facing Zong Wuxin, whose strength had soared, how could it withstand him? It would probably only be able to await death in despair. Seeing Zong Wuxin's frenzied aura, Qin Chen immediately sneered. The reason he had spent so much effort before to kill the half-step martial venerable of the Earth Demon sect was not because he couldn't kill him, but because he didn't want the Li Kan sacred mirror to attract too much attention. If that Zong Wuxin thought that he could kill him after his strength increased, then he was too naive. He circulated the 9-star God Emperor art within his body to the extreme, and the thick and pure true essence instantly poured into the Li Kan sacred mirror. Boom! Although Qin Chen's cultivation was not as good as Lu Zai's, in terms of the purity and strength of his true essence, it was more than 10 times stronger than Lu Zai's. In an instant, the Li Kan sacred mirror burst out with an unprecedentedly scorching light, a terrifying light that seemed to be able to melt everything in the world, frantically surging out. The moment the white light surged out, the terrifying power of destruction it brought had already shattered the black demonic light emitted by the black demon wheel, and then fiercely bombarded Zong Wuxin's body. Ah! Zong Wuxin screamed miserably. Under the scorching of the destructive white light, black smoke emerged from his body, and dense burn marks appeared on his body. He was shocked and furious in his heart, and extremely shocked. The other party's ancient mirror was too terrifying. The white light that erupted seemed to specifically restrain the demonic energy on his body, constantly corroding his flesh, and his whole person immediately became extremely weak. Not good. If this continues, I might even die. At this moment, Zong Wuxin calmed down instead. He didn't think about any regrets. In his life, he had always acted according to his heart. If he had to regret everything, he wouldn't have achieved what he had today. The reason why he was able to become a 6th Order Martial Venerable and one of the Vice Sect Masters of the Earth Demon Sect was also because of his ruthlessness. Although this ruthlessness had led to a crisis now, he did not regret it. At this time, his only thought was to find an opportunity to leave this place, and then immediately notify the sect master. As long as the sect master arrived, he could clean up these two guys. He didn't believe that with the full power of his Earth Demon sect, he couldn't kill these two guys. With a thought, Zong Wuxin's figure suddenly retreated violently, obviously wanting to break away from the battle group. He believed that as long as he broke away from the battle group, Prince Zhou would definitely protect him. If that kid still wanted to kill him, he would inevitably provoke Prince Zhou to take action. At that time, he wouldn't even need to notify his Earth Demon sect to completely kill these two people. However, as soon as his figure moved, an astonishing killing intent suddenly swept over from behind him. The intensity of that killing intent was like a tsunami erupting, instantly enveloping his entire person. Want to leave? Have you asked this seat? Die for me. Hein Yu had already been preparing aside when Zong Wuxin attacked Qin Chen. At this time, seeing that Zong Wuxin wanted to escape, the attack that had been brewing for a long time burst out at all costs. This was the first time Hein Yu had fully released the Heavenly Demon banner after breaking through to the 6th Order Martial Venerable. In an instant, the sounds of ghosts crying and gods howling resounded between heaven and earth. Many warriors around him painfully covered their ears. Just the wailing demonic sound was almost enough to shatter their souls. No! Zong Wuxin roared in shock and anger. In panic, he frantically resisted the terrifying attack of the Heavenly Demon banner, but he had already been seriously injured by the attack of the Li Kan Sacred Mirror before. At this time, he was simply unable to resist. With a scream, his entire person had already been completely swallowed by the Heavenly Demon banner. The monstrous demonic energy poured into his body. Zong Wuxin, who had never regretted anything, felt an unprecedented regret in his heart for the first time. If it wasn't for his aggressiveness and arrogance, how could he have offended these two guys? And the others, including Prince Zhou of the Great Zhou dynasty, seemed to be standing on his side, but in reality, they wanted to use his hand to spy on the strength of these two people. Unprecedented regret filled Zong Wuxin's heart, and a sense of despair rose in Zong Wuxin's heart. His entire person was instantly turned into nothingness by the Heavenly Demon banner. After the Heavenly Demon banner absorbed Zong Wuxin's soul, it immediately became even more terrifying. The black runes on it shone astonishingly. Hein Yu was overjoyed. This Zong Wuxin was a member of the Earth Demon sect, and he also cultivated a technique similar to demonic arts. The nourishment of the Heavenly Demon banner was probably worth 10 ordinary martial venerable warriors. After putting away the Heavenly Demon banner, Hein Yu immediately took out a storage ring and respectfully handed the storage ring to Qin Chen. He sneered in his mouth, "What a waste! You dare to be arrogant with such strength. You simply don't know how to write the word death." The battle on the field came and went quickly. The terrifying scene that had been extremely impressive just now completely disappeared in the blink of an eye and returned to calm. Silence. Deathly silence. At this time, everyone on the field stared blankly at Qin Chen and Hein Yu, and couldn't help but gasp for air. As for the warriors of the Great Zhou dynasty, they were even more dumbfounded, shocked beyond measure, their eyeballs were almost bursting out, and an unprecedented fear arose in their hearts. This was the Earth Demon sect, one of the top sects of the Great Zhou dynasty. Although it was not in the strongest ranks, it was still quite famous. As for Zong Wuxin, he was also famous in the Great Zhou dynasty. But such a group of experts were killed in the blink of an eye. This strong contrast gave everyone an unprecedented shock. What shocked everyone even more was Qin Chen's performance. A 5th Order Martial sect actually killed 2 6th Order Martial Venerables of the Earth Demon sect, and even Zong Wuxin suffered a loss in his hands. The The warriors who could come here were not people who had never seen the world, but today they had really opened their eyes. You dare to kill the warriors of my great Zhou dynasty. Zhou Zun, who had been smiling coldly and full of vigor, now had an extremely ugly face and said in a cold tone. Qin Chen looked over coldly and said in a cold voice, "What are you? If I want to kill someone, do I have to listen to your orders? Bold. Presumptuous. How dare you? Do you think you are invincible after killing Zong Wuxin?" Beside the gloomy young man, several strong men were furious. Boom. Terrifying killing intent suddenly erupted from their bodies, including even sixth-order mid-stage experts. The horrifying killing intent was like a raging wave, fiercely impacting Qin Chen and He Nu. He Nu's face turned pale, and his expression suddenly became solemn. After all, he had just broken through to the peak of the sixth-order early stage. Facing these old-school martial venerables, even sixth-order mid-stage peak-level martial venerables, whether it was aura or strength, he was probably several times worse. What? Are you all also planning to attack me? Have you considered the consequences? However, facing the terrifying killing intent of these people, Qin Chen coldly stared at him, his face not showing the slightest fear, but rather a faint, indifferent smile. The experts from the Great Zhou dynasty were all stunned, suspicion arising in their hearts. Although the person opposite had killed Zong Wuxin earlier, their strength had already been fully revealed. That cloaked figure, although possessing a not weak aura, was only a peak early stage rank 6 martial venerable, perhaps not even a match for Zong Wuxin, only relying on that demonic banner treasure. As for that youth, he was even weaker, his cultivation only at the peak mid-stage of rank 5. Although he had forcefully killed Zong Wuxin earlier, it was because the two had joined forces and possessed a mysterious ancient mirror that seemed to specifically counter experts like Zong Wuxin from the Earth Demon sect, which allowed him to kill Zong Wuxin. In terms of true strength, these two were actually about the same as the previously annihilated Earth Demon sect. And them, which one of them had a weaker cultivation than Zong Wuxin? Especially the leading captain of the Imperial Guards, who was a peak mid-stage rank 6 martial venerable, killing Zong Wuxin would be as easy as flipping his hand. But facing their power, this youth and the cloaked figure showed no fear at all, which made him feel suspicious, and their original intention to attack forcefully immediately became hesitant. One of them immediately snorted coldly, "Consequences. HMPH, do you know who is standing before you? It is His Highness the 6th Prince of my great Zhou dynasty. How dare you speak to the 6th Prince in such a manner? It is truly rebellious. Moreover, you previously killed a warrior of my great Zhou dynasty. Kneel down immediately, and perhaps there is still a chance of survival, otherwise, we will let you know the consequences of offending my great Zhou dynasty." Boom. Intense killing intent bloomed from several people. The terrifying killing intent, like a vast ocean, caused He Nu's expression to change, and even those warriors far away from the ruins faintly felt this surging aura, their hearts filled with fear. The great Zhou dynasty's 6th prince, is he very impressive? Qin Chen sneered, the disdain on his face overflowing. What did you say? Many experts from the great Zhou dynasty were all furious. Qin Chen sneered, isn't it so? Just a small dynasty, the Tianwu Continent is filled with experts, countless peerless empires, and within the martial domain, there are even more great sects, martial emperors rampant. The great Zhou dynasty is just a small, remote region, not even an imperial dynasty, yet you are showing off your power here. Is it very strong? As soon as Qin Chen said this, he immediately attracted everyone's attention, especially the middle-aged woman and the young girl, their eyes revealing surprise. Although the great Zhou dynasty is already a behemoth compared to the 5 nations, it is indeed a non-mainstream force in the entire Tianwu continent. Especially the martial domain, which is the most core place of the Tianwu continent, but in the land of 100 dynasties, apart from the top royal families and other forces, the experts of ordinary sects have not even heard of the martial domain, yet the other party was able to casually mention it, causing everyone to focus their attention. This child is not without knowledge, perhaps. With a thought, the great Zhou dynasty martial venerable sneered, you have a big tone, not even putting my great Zhou dynasty in your eyes. Aren't you just a warrior from the great Wei dynasty? He sneered, seemingly disdainful, but in reality, he was secretly probing Qin Chen's origins. A warrior from the Great Wei dynasty. What is the Great Wei dynasty? Qin Chen scoffed, saying proudly. What is the Great Wei dynasty? All the warriors present were shocked, their eyes showing astonishment. Earlier, the people from the Great Wei dynasty had admitted that this youth was one of them. How could the other party say such a thing at this moment? They couldn't help but look at Mo Xincheng and the others from the Great Wei dynasty, only to see that the experts from the Great Wei dynasty also had cold eyes and astonished expressions, obviously feeling extremely shocked by Qin Chen's words, but they did not refute it. This scene stunned Zhou Zun and the others. Could it be that this child is really not a disciple of the Great Wei dynasty? It should be known that the Great Wei dynasty warriors were obviously at odds with this youth before, and no one even spoke up for him. If the Great Wei dynasty warriors really knew him, they would not remain silent when they heard him say this. But now, they were all astonished, and this kind of meaning made people have to think deeply. Hein Yu's heart also moved, and he immediately sneered, "My master is right. That Great Wei dynasty is just a mere dynasty. How could it be seen by my master?" Master. Hearing this, everyone was even more shocked, all looking at Qin Chen and Hein Yu in shock. Hein Yu's previous strength was obvious to all, definitely not below the Earth Demon Sect's Vice Sect Master Zong Wuxin. Such an expert, no matter which dynasty he was in, would not be an unknown person, but a top expert of a certain great force, holding a high position. But now, this person actually called that youth master. This made everyone's hearts tremble wildly. Master, and young master, and the meaning of young master, are completely different. Similar to Mo Xiang of the beast-taming villa, he is the young master of the beast-taming villa, but Mo King, a half-step martial venerable, or the many elders of the beast-taming villa, although they will respect Mo Xiang, it is also because of the face of the villa master Mo Xincheng. Once anything happens, the decision will definitely be made by Mo King, and it is impossible for Mo Xiang to do so. Even Zhou Zun, the prince of the Great Zhou dynasty, the middle-aged man beside him is the captain of his imperial guards, but he will only call Zhou Zun Your Highness, and will not call him master. And now Hein Yu's address to Qin Chen immediately made everyone's hearts suddenly tremble. Master, this represents that the cloaked figure is this youth's servant, and one word can determine his life and death. The meaning of this makes people have to think deeply. Could it be that you are not a disciple of our land of 100 dynasties? Amidst the shock, the Great Zhou dynasty Marshal Venerable couldn't help but blurt out. Land of 100 dynasties. Qin Chen scoffed. This young master has been to the Phantom Dream Mountain, ascended the Emperor Old Peak, set foot in the Martial Domain's Heavenly Saint Hall. This land of 100 dynasties is just a place this young master passed by unintentionally. Seeing this Black Death swamp, I was slightly interested and stopped here unintentionally. Every noun that Qin Chen dropped, the hearts of everyone present trembled fiercely. Many of the nouns that Qin Chen said, he had never even heard of. Even if he was accidentally familiar with them, he only saw them in some ancient mainland books. It is said that they are all supreme places on the mainland. He didn't expect that this youth had actually been there. At this moment, Qin Chen's eyes were condescending, proudly overlooking, and the kind of aloof, arrogant aura was definitely not something that the playboy young masters of ordinary forces could pretend to be. Could it be that this kid is really a genius from some super family on the mainland? Someone's heart trembled wildly, and even faintly believed it. HMPH. Arrogant. You don't know where you heard some place names from, and you are also letting out wild words here, bewitching people with rumors. If you are really a disciple of a great family outside my land of 100 dynasties, how could you only have this one small martial venerable to protect you? It's ridiculous. At this moment, the white-haired formation master Zhao Wei, the great formation master, suddenly sneered and spoke, his eyes showing disdain, obviously not believing Qin Chen's words at all. The moment Zhao Wei spoke, everyone present was stunned. What Zhao Wei said wasn't entirely without reason. One should know that any major power is extremely concerned about the protection of its disciples. If this Qin Chen truly came from a major power that surpassed the 100 dynasties, how could he only have a peak, early rank 6 martial lord following him, without any stronger experts? Even princes like Zhou Zun and Xia Wushang from the Great Zhou dynasty and Great Xia dynasty would have peak, mid-rank 6 martial lords protecting them when traveling in the 100 dynasties. In comparison, although He Nu was Qin Chen's servant, his strength was looked down upon. Hey. Hearing this, Qin Chen suddenly smiled disdainfully, his eyes looking at Zhao Wei, filled with mockery. That look was condescending, as if a dragon looking down on an ant, full of contempt and disdain, as if saying that this person was simply an idiot. What kind of look is that? Are you speechless because I've exposed you? Zhao Wei was furious. As an early rank 6 Grandmaster of formations, the one with the highest attainment in formations present, when had Zhao Wei ever been looked down upon like this? Even Prince Zhou of the Great Zhou dynasty had to respectfully address him as Grandmaster when facing him. Qin Chen's gaze was truly rude. Just an idiot, understanding nothing, spouting nonsense here. I think the one talking nonsense should be you, right? What did you say? Zhao Wei was furious, his aura suddenly erupting, his eyes fierce. Boy, how dare you speak to Grandmaster Zhao Wei like that? Are you courting death? Show some respect to Grandmaster Zhao Wei. It must be said that there are many people in this world who love to flatter others. When some martial artists saw Qin Chen insulting Zhao Wei, they immediately jumped out, sternly shouting, as if they themselves had been insulted. After all, Grandmaster Zhao Wei was currently the strongest formation master present. If they wanted to break the core of the Black Death Swamp's ruins, even the princes of the 2 great dynasties had to rely on Grandmaster Zhao Wei. Isn't that so? Qin Chen chuckled softly. Who said that one must have strong experts following them to be considered training? That's just the thinking of you martial artists from remote places. Martial artists can only grow through life and death experiences. Truly great families temper their successes with extremely cruel methods. If one has top experts who can slaughter anyone following them, what kind of training is that? Would there still be any effect from the training? Moreover, although this young master doesn't have any experts around me, if you want to kill this young master, the martial Dao clone hidden within me will naturally take action on my behalf and kill that person. Qin Chen spoke eloquently, calmly and lightly. Martial Dao clone. Zhao Wei was stunned. What was that? The others also looked blank, full of confusion. TCH. Qin Chen sneered, even too lazy to explain. That kind of disdain and contempt made Zhao Wei feel an unprecedented humiliation, almost driving him mad. In fact, even He Nu was confused. He had never heard of such a thing as a martial Dao clone. However, to act, one must naturally act to the extreme. He raised his head high, his gaze looking down on everything. Are you saying that you actually have a martial Dao clone on you? It was the saintly maiden who exclaimed in surprise, looking at Qin Chen in shock. Her eyes, which had previously been indifferent to everything and disdainful of everything, were suddenly filled with surprise. The middle-aged woman beside the maiden also looked over in surprise. Elder Gu Yue, what is this martial Dao clone? Seeing that these two seemed to know, a martial artist immediately asked from the side. The middle-aged woman, Gu Yue, said in a deep voice, a martial Dao clone is a wisp of wool of a strong expert, injected into the body of another. It is generally used on one's juniors. Once one's junior encounters a life or death danger, this martial Dao will be instantly activated, transforming into a clone of the expert, behead killing the opponent. And what's even more terrifying is, Gu Yue's face was filled with solemnity. An expert who can unleash a martial Dao clone is at least a rank 8 martial emperor, because only when a martial artist breaks through to the martial emperor realm can their martial Dao will be condensed into substance and integrated into their bloodline, evolving into a clone. Hiss. Everyone gasped, looking at Qin Chen in horror. A martial Dao clone that can only be unleashed by at least a martial emperor. No wonder this young man is so arrogant. A dynasty is called a dynasty because the top expert in a dynasty is only a rank 7 martial king. But once they possess a martial emperor expert, it is the land of an imperial dynasty. If this young man truly possesses the martial Dao will left behind by a martial emperor expert, then it means that there will definitely be a martial emperor expert behind him. The gazes of everyone looking at Qin Chen were immediately filled with fear. No wonder he was so arrogant. If what he said was true, he truly had the qualifications to look down on the entire 100 dynasties. Zhao Wei was also shocked, looking at Qin Chen in horror. A martial emperor expert. This young man has a martial emperor expert behind him. His heart turned cold, and the hairs on his body stood on end. Although he didn't know whether what Qin Chen said was true or false, he already felt somewhat timid in his heart. But to just admit defeat like this, he naturally couldn't save face, coldly snorting, HMPH, what you said is just a casual remark. Who knows whether you have a martial dowel on you or not? Qin Chen smiled noncommittally. You can try it out. Ridiculous. Zhao Wei waved his sleeve and said angrily, I am not that Zong Wuxin, how could I randomly kill people? On the contrary, you have repeatedly disrupted my formation breaking. Do you want to be enemies with so many of us? What is your intention in not wanting me to successfully break the formation? Zhao Wei's words were actually a concession. He obviously didn't want to dwell on Qin Chen's identity anymore, but wanted to use his identity as a formation master to put pressure on Qin Chen through everyone. After all, he didn't have any direct grudges with Qin Chen, he was just extremely dissatisfied with Qin Chen's interference with his formation breaking. Disrupting your formation breaking. Qin Chen smiled even more. You can't break the formation, and you want to blame it on me. Moreover, is there only one formation master present? Zhao Wei raised his head proudly. Although I am not the only formation master present, I am the one with the highest attainment in formations. If I can't break this formation, others naturally can't break it either. Just now, I spent a lot of effort to finally find some clues, trying to break the formation at the core of this ruin, but I was interrupted by you. Now I am dizzy and may not be as successful as before. Zhao Wei sneered repeatedly, pushing all the responsibility onto Qin Chen. Only you can break the formation. Qin Chen's lips curled into a cold smile. Is that so? I don't think so. Zhao Wei was so angry that he laughed, proudly saying, if it's not me breaking the formation, could it be you breaking the formation? Oh, if I can break this formation, what will you do? Following Zhao Wei's words, Qin Chen suddenly laughed.